Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Apologies for starting a bit late. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and sending a copy to the Montclair Times, Star Ledger, and Herald News. This is a public hearing in which any members of the public are welcome to attend. The meeting agenda is available on the Montclair website, as is a link to the township's YouTube channel, where the hearing can be viewed live or after the fact. The hearing is also being televised on Channel 34. I have some changes to the agenda to announce tonight. Application number 2962 for address 12 Montclair Avenue for Ryan Hart has been postponed to May 20th, 2026 without need for further public notice. Additionally, application 2965 299 Grove Street for Gotham Nair has also been postponed to May 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. without the need for additional further public notice. And then application 2944 24 William Street for Dimitri Charles has been postponed to June 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. without need for further public notice.
Is that June 3rd or June 4th?
June 3rd, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I will call the roll. Chair McCullough.
Present?
Vice Chair Simon.
Here.
Mr. Caulfield is excused. Mr. Church.
Here.
Ms. Harris is excused. Mr. Moore is excused. Mr. Vieira.
Here.
Ms. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Griffith.
Here.
And Mr. Cruz will be joining us a bit late, so. Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
All right, thank you.
All right, before we move into the approval of minutes for March 25th, two things. Just want to take a moment to discuss with the board. First of all is to have some conversation about the time frame for our meetings. Like to recommend that we ordinarily, we have a starting time for our meetings at 7 p.m. and that we ordinarily aim for 10 p.m. As concluding time. If we have to run over, that we should have an agreement that perhaps after 10:30 we would not receive any more witnesses. I mean, so if we're in the middle of an application and we feel as though we need to continue the conversation, we would do it only under the proviso that there would be no additional witnesses to be called after 10:30. That way we would be able to finish at a hopefully a more reasonable time, not only for us but also for members of the public. Would want to hear any comments from members of the board or other suggestions.
So, I'm in favor. Is there a proposed time where we would not start an application?
Yeah, I think the suggestion is that we stop at 10 o'clock, but if we're in the middle of a witness, we would go to 10:30.
Okay.
Is that accurate, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So someone should make a motion to that effect to establish that as our policy, and then ultimately we can incorporate that in our rules and regulations,
Okay.
bylaws.
All right, so moved.
All right, is there a second? All right, is there any more discussion about that? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? And abstentions? All right, thank you very much. And then want to simply take this moment to acknowledge Mr. Vieira, who is concluding his service on this zoning board, and we've very much appreciated your participation and leadership and the gift of your expertise, not only to this board, but to the Township of Montclair. We wish you well as you and your family move on to other responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll turn now to the minutes of the March 25th meeting. And I have a couple of notes. The first is on page 5, line 157. make sure I'm beginning in the right place. Okay. And that is the reference to Brookdale Park. However, I've noted that our secretary has also referenced Yantakal Brook Park. So we need to clarify which park we're really talking about here. I believe it is the latter.
I'll make that change.
Similarly, on page number 6, and that would be line 199, would be the same reference. And I wanted clarification on page 9, on line 327. You used the word at the end of the sentence, "as the run appears." Is that the intended word, "as the run appears to exceed 2 steps"? Just want to make sure that's.
Yeah, I
isn't-
think I meant stair run, so I'll clarify that.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anyone else have any corrections to the minutes? If not, would someone move the approval of the minutes as amended?
I'll move the minutes as approved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
All right, we have 2 abstentions, thank you. Then we'll move to resolutions, and we have, the first is the resolution for application 2949, 30 Club Road. And again, I have a couple of items, and 3 of them are really essentially the same again. So on page 2, in paragraph 5, paragraph 7, and then in the final resolution, item number 3, to change the wording to Yantakal Brook Park as opposed to Brookdale Park. Okay? And then in paragraph number 6, the last sentence, there's a reference to propose to maintain and enhance screening. I believe that word enhance should be deleted. And the reason for that is because part of the rationale that was given by the applicant was that they were removing trees and putting in shrubbery, but they were relying on additional screening from the neighbor. Okay. Right. Are there any other corrections to this resolution? Would someone move the approval of the resolution as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
All right. Then we have the resolution for application 2955, 340 Orange Road. And I don't have any corrections to that resolution. Does anyone else have any corrections to that resolution? All right, will someone move the approval of that resolution?
I'll move the approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you. And then the last is application 2957. And I have, that's 31 Oakwood Avenue. I have 2 minor corrections, I believe. And that is on page 1. This is really, this one is just a grammatical. In the second paragraph, whereas, second line, where it says of Tungsten Architects sheets, there should be a comma after sheets. And then in the third paragraph, whereas, in the first line, whereas this matter came and that word "on" to be heard, I think, strike the word "on."
I think it should be Thompson Architects, not sheets A1 through A4.
Oh, actually, you're correct, yes. I read it several times, and I kept coming back to the same place, so the comma should be in front of sheets. Mhm. Thank you. Are there any other corrections? All right, would someone move the approval of the
I'll
resolution?
move
as amended?
approval of this
All right.
as submitted.
Second.
All right. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Abstain.
All right, we're going to move to old business, and we're going to begin with application 2958, which is 84 Clinton Avenue. This is a continuation of the application from Stephen and Jennifer Grin, Block 1202, Lot 10, for side and rear additions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Gregory Massara, Manuel McConnell Massara, on behalf of the applicants, Stephen Grin and Jennifer Rockwood. It's good to see everybody.
Thank you, welcome back.
Mr. Chairman, before the application, I'd like to be heard on objection to notice that I sent to the board attorney today.
All right.
My name is Matthew Gilson.
I'm sorry, one second. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before
Yes.
the application begins, I'd like to be heard on an objection I made to notice that I emailed
Yeah,
to the board.
notice is jurisdictional, so it would be appropriate to hear from Mr. Gilson at this time.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the notice. I represent the property owners, the neighboring property owners at 185 Gates Avenue. There are several existing nonconformities that are noted on the applicant's plans. The applicant noticed for the variances that the new variances were created, but did not notice for these existing nonconformities. Now, it is my position is twofold. For all the existing conformities, we are taking the applicant's position that they are existing legal nonconformities, which I do not believe has been established. So I believe all of the existing nonconformities should have been established because the board needs to establish that these are existing nonconformities and not simply things that were built without permission that would require a new variance. But most specifically, I'm concerned with the maximum permitted width for principal building, because this is, while it's not being exacerbated, this condition is changing. It says the existing nonconformity addition does not widen the principal building. But it does still affect a non-conforming variance, so I believe that this should have been noticed as a variance, and as such, the applicant's notice is defective.
Mr. Massara?
Thank you, Counsel. First, I would like Counsel to identify who his clients are.
Yes, my clients are the owners, I said, of 185 Gates. They are Ahmad Nourollah and Bida Amiri.
Can you spell that last name for me?
Both of them. Nourol and Ameri.
Thank you, Counsel, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, as you know, notice must fairly apprise the public of the nature of the application. No more than that. We're all familiar with Pearl Mart of Lacey versus the Township of Lacey, and that case has held for a substantial amount of time, that provided that the public is aware of the true scope and impact of the application, notice is sufficient. So it's our position that certainly the true impact of this application was provided in the notice.
All right, so, Mr. Massara, any notice issue that's raised, obviously it falls on the applicant who bears the risk of subsequent court action, potentially reversing board action if the notice is found defective. But you're telling me on behalf of the applicant, you think it's fine and you're willing to go forward?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and I think Mr. Massara has accurately advised the board as to exactly what is required under the municipal land use law. It's basically the nature of the matters to be considered. It's kind of a common sense approach to would a neighbor who got this notice understand what's going on in the application. I think there's two things to note here. I think there's sufficient specificity in what's being proposed. The applicant also has included the catch-all language to seek any other variances that may be required. And the Pearl Mart versus Lacey Township case that's cited by Mr. Messere, that's a 1996 appellate division decision, and basically, in addition to saying it's got to be common sense approach to review the notices, it also said it's not required that each and every variance be noticed, and that's also the same principle that's been adopted in a number of subsequent cases. So I'm comfortable understanding that the applicant's bearing the risk to proceeding at this time. All right, Mr. Messere, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're here seeking variances in connection with home improvements at 84 Clinton Avenue. The application was begun last month. We had Ying, our architect, testify. I was not present last month. And then the application subsequently was adjourned because of a late hour. I appreciate your new hours that you've discussed this evening. Tonight I intend to call 3 witnesses. I intend to call Mr. Grin, who is the property owner and the applicant. I intend to recall Ms. Lee to review her testimony and then to provide further details. And I will call Alex McClean, who is a New Jersey licensed professional planner. So as we just spoke about, the applicant is seeking variances from Montclair Code Section 347-33C. The vicinity side yard setback of 5.33 feet, where 12 feet is required. There is already a side yard setback of 5.33 feet. We are seeking permission for 1.5%, a variance for 1.5% of impervious coverage, which we would consider as a de minimis variance. And the side yard. Thank you. I'm sorry. And we're going to extend the existing side yard setback as well, as Ms. Ying will testify in her plans. My first witness will be Mr. Grin.
All right, while he's getting set up, Zainab, I'm going to swear you in for all the hearings and proceedings tonight. So would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I do.
Just state your position with township, your name and position with the township.
Zainab Ghazni, Assistant Planner. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Grin, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I do.
State your name and address.
Stephen Grin, 84 Clinton Avenue, Montclair, New Jersey, 07042.
Thank you.
Mr. Grin, you are the applicant this evening with your wife, Jennifer Rockwitz, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And you're the owner of 84 Clinton Avenue in Montclair?
Yes, we are.
How long have you owned that property?
Since September 2015.
And you've resided in that property since then?
Oh, yes, we have.
And who resides in the property with you?
Myself, my wife, and our 3 children, 14, 10, and 5.
Okay. The time has come now where you are needing more room in your home, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
You work out of your house occasionally?
Majority.
Okay. And when did you start doing that? During COVID or after?
For myself, slightly before COVID. For my wife, during COVID.
And is there any adequate space in your house for you and your family to breathe, so to speak?
No, there isn't.
Okay. So you decided that you wanted to stay in Montclair, is that correct?
That's correct. We love the town, we love our neighbors, we love the community, we love the public school system.
The idea was to expand your house, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And what did you do in order to start acting on those plans?
Yeah, this is not a matter of speculation or investment. This is a matter of just meeting the needs of our family, which is now actually becoming multi-generational. We hired an architect, we looked at various different options, and we went for the sort of least impactful option, which obviously met the needs of the town, the community, and obviously HPC as well.
When you said least impactful, you did consider the HPC when you had these plans prepared?
We did. We knew in advance that we live in a historic preservation neighborhood, so we reached out to zoning board, planning board, as well as HPC, and got some feedback in terms of what we can and can't do.
But that was voluntarily that you
That's
reached
correct.
out, correct?
That's correct.
You had no obligation to reach out to HPC, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. So you presented a set of plans to HPC?
We did.
And did HPC review those plans and respond with comments?
They did. There were 7 specific changes or recommendations, and we accepted all 7 of those recommendations and implemented them.
And one of the,
At our detriment, I should add.
and your detriment because you decreased the amount of usable square footage within your house?
I believe net, we've lost about 680 square feet of usable space.
And one of those reasons was because the HPC asked that you retain the chimney?
I can't speak about it as eloquently as my architect can, but yes, they wanted us to retain the chimney, and they wanted us to retain the way the roof line looked from the street.
So you agreed to do that?
We did, yes.
Okay. And there's also some other concessions that you made that you said costing you approximately 600 square feet, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So the design was changed in order to accommodate the request of the HPC?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. When it came time to draw the plans, you hired Ms. Ling, and were your instructions to keep the property aesthetically in line with the rest of the community?
That's correct, yes.
And what were your discussions as far as the neighborhood and the size of the structure when it was completed?
Well, there are some specific requirements, right? You've got children that are growing up and getting bigger, right? You want to have more livable space for them, entertaining space for them, as well as for your family. We're becoming multi-generational. My father passed away last year, so my mother now will live with us for 4 to 5 months of the year. So I needed a bedroom for her with a new bathroom that avoided her having to climb up the steps to the 3rd floor, and obviously office space for both my wife and I.
Okay. When you purchased this house, the lot was configured the way it is, correct?
Yes, we made no changes to the house.
And the lot is considerably smaller than the other lots in the area?
Yeah, we jokingly say we're the smallest house in the neighborhood, yes.
Okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions?
No questions.
Church?
No questions.
Mr. Vieira?
No questions.
Ms. Grant?
No questions.
Mr. Griffith?
No questions.
I have no questions either. Thank you.
Let's see if Mr. Gilson has any questions,
I have no questions in this witness.
or any other member of the public.
Okay. My next witness, Mr. Chairman, is Ying Lee. Mr. Chairman, I believe Ms. Lee was sworn in at the last meeting. Ms. Lee, you're...
No, just, you were sworn in at the last meeting. You understand you're still under oath?
Yes.
State your name and business address, please.
Ying Lee, 89 Pine Street in Melbourne, architect.
Ms. Lee, your license is still active?
Yes.
Nothing has changed since last
Correct.
month? Correct. Okay. Can you describe for the board, a brief overview, just to refresh the board's recollection with regard to what you have prepared, the design, the architectural design of the home, and then go into the specific changes that you made since the last meeting?
Yeah, just to reiterate, the 3 variance items we are seeking. And the first one is the side yard setback. That's existing non-conforming condition, and we extend the existing width of the house to keep the integrity of the geometry of the colonial geometry. So that's the first. Existing is 5.56 foot, and with the property line skewered toward east, the proposed will be 5.33 feet. It's basically existing non-conforming condition made slightly worse. The second variance we are seeking is because the placement of the HVC condenser units. The required 12 feet is not realistic to achieve on this side, actually, on most sides. And the third variance we are seeking is impervious coverage. During last hearing, the neighbor basically pointed out that the survey wasn't updated. Since last meeting, we have updated the new survey. Actually, what we missed in the old survey last month was that actually there is a significant patio that's already on the site. So with the new survey, actually, the increased. So I think the board member has the 2 pages of site plan. We basically, that's the additional drawing we made since last meeting. On the 1 page, it shows basically shows the proposed and existing site plan, and you can say you can see that with the new updated survey, actually the increased impervious, it's less. With this size addition, the increased impervious area is only 430 square foot. So I guess if I can use this board, we have this thing here.
All right, let's just make sure what we're looking at is the revised plan that we have. What sheet are you looking at there?
We can look at the numbers first, the L101.
Okay, that's got a revision date of April 15, 2026, is that correct?
That's right. That's basically the revision since last meeting.
Right.
And I highlighted at the bottom is the existing impervious coverage is basically 48.2. It's already very close to the regulation, which is at 49.9. And the proposed impervious coverage is 51.6. So basically the increase, if you look at the bottom, the top right, I put basically that's the impervious coverage calculation. The last column is the change. You can see that the change of square footage of the impervious coverage, it basically we increased the 3.4%.
But it's only 1.6%
1.7
or 1.7%
Yes, correct.
over what is required,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you did those calculations yourself?
Yes, it's computed. Yes.
Okay.
And then Ms. Lee, if you don't mind just grabbing this mic or that one.
It's been one of those days.
It really has.
And then basically it's the same content with the copy you have in hand. So that's the first page of that's L101 basically. It has the calculation, shows the number, and the next page is the L100. It basically shows the existing.
All right, and L100 also has that revision date of April 15, 2026.
Yes, basically this 2-page are the revision.
Okay, and
since
while I
last
have
month.
you also, you referenced the fact that you submitted a new survey, and that's the one that was prepared by Richard Hingos, and that's dated September 10, 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. I believe that's the 3 pages of document that we submitted to ZENEP since last meeting. So on the L100, you can see that the updated survey basically has this existing patio, the stone patio, that's basically covered. Yeah, okay. Basically, as in the existing survey, you can see that the area where the proposed addition will be currently is occupied by the existing patio. The proposed addition basically is, in terms of impervious coverage, is will be occupying the existing impervious coverage.
Ms. Lee, although you're not an engineer, as an architect, you do have to take into account permissible pervious coverage and not permissible impervious coverage. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and if I have to use my yes, if you just look at the number, with this size of addition, and the total increased impervious square footage is only 430. That is quite
Would you say it's
significant.
It's
Yes.
de minimis?
Yes.
And would you, again, as a professional architect, give an opinion as to whether the 1.5% increase will have any, or 1.5% over what is permitted will have any real impact or any impact at all on this site?
I mean, in theory, any increased impervious area will have impact. That's why there's a role for the engineering review. And that's the job for the engineer of the town, to review the stormwater management, which will be required.
Okay.
They won't be able to build without that.
If that happens, would, you can speak on behalf of the applicant, would the applicant condition, if the board were inclined to approve the application, condition approval on stormwater, approval of any stormwater plan or any requirement of a stormwater plan of the township engineer?
Can you repeat the?
Yes, if the board were inclined to approve the application, isn't it true that the applicant would agree to condition the application on approval by the township engineer of any stormwater plan or stormwater requirements?
Yeah, I believe so.
So just so we're clear, so if the application's approved, the applicant would install stormwater management measures as directed by the township engineer. Is that
Absolutely,
correct?
yes.
That was said much more succinctly, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. Ms. Lee, if you talk about the single-story addition, proposed addition on the southerly sideline, there is a single-story part of the building on the southerly sideline, correct?
Correct.
And your proposal is to extend what is there now by how many feet?
I would say approximately, I mean, it has a gabled roof. I would say approximately 9. One story is 9 feet.
No,
and
about how far back would it go? Not how high, how far back is the extension?
how
How
far
many
back?
feet is the extension?
Toward the back?
Towards the back.
And while you're checking that, I think the record should reflect that Board Member Cruz has arrived.
It's about, I think the one story toward the back is 18 feet, and then the other part,
Well, we'll just talk about
It's
that for
about-
now. So
yeah,
you
about
designed it,
12.
you designed it as one story. In your opinion, that would be architecturally compatible with what exists?
At one story, one is we didn't want the addition to be massive, and the other one that basically satisfied the program the homeowners
Okay.
have
but
in mind.
We're talking about on the southerly side, that is only one story, and that is an extension of one story that exists already, correct?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Right now it has the yes.
And in your professional opinion, that is aesthetically pleasing, is that correct?
Yes. Right now it's a corner. We complete a corner.
You complete a corner, and that
Yes.
is something that is consistent with
The
your
colonial
architectural
house. Yes.
style, is that correct?
Yes.
And now with regard to the chimney, you're aware that the chimney has to remain, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you heard Mr. Grin suggest that he's losing about 600 square feet internally. That is correct?
Yes.
And you- Right.
Yes.
And that's because now because of the HPC, because of their suggestion, you cannot utilize all of the new interior space. Is that correct?
Correct, because originally before the HPC, before the HPC review, we had the building, we extended existing main ridge, and the HPC had good comments to keep the high ridge and the low ridge relationship as visible from the street. The result of that is with the lowered ridge, over the existing one story, we no longer have the extra attic space, otherwise we would have been able to use.
And the chimney is basically going to become decorative, is that correct?
Correct.
We're going to remove the flue, is that right?
Yes.
So this accommodation was done for design purposes only, not by your choice, but to accommodate the HPC?
Correct.
But you do agree that it will be attractive, is that correct?
Yes, people won't notice from the street,
Okay.
yes.
You can continue if you have further testimony with regard to the other section that, the other section of the home will be the addition.
I think that's all. That's the 3 variances we are seeking. Yeah.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Church, do you have questions?
Chairman, you're going to have to pause the meeting if there was a board member. Okay, let's proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. You've mentioned that one of the variances that you're seeking tonight is because of the location of the HVAC condensing unit, is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And I guess, can you walk me through, did you assess another possible location, or this is the only location?
I mean, actually, this even when you look at the design on the site plan, when I did addition, there is there's a 2-foot setback from the existing building line on the southern side. So that's, even when we were designing, we actually already had in mind that we will leave space for air, because this is, every house has it now and has somewhere to go. So if, the back addition already set back with the idea basically to accommodate the condensers. As for other locations, because the shape and the size of the lot, that's why actually we, since last meeting, I guess another change we made is, another way is, we look at the neighbor house, they are more toward the back, their residence. So another way is we provided a second option, alternative is to move the AC condenser more toward the front. Even though that will make the deviation worse, but on the other hand, it is farther away from the living quarter of the neighbor. So that's the option 2 we proposed since last meeting. That, I think you can see that one on L100 on one of the 2 new pages. Basically,
So that basically abuts up to the side of the front, that's the front side of the house now.
yes, that is, yeah, the downside is it is actually
All right,
closer.
so we'll call that option 2.
Correct.
And the originally
Option B.
proposed location is option 1.
Yes, correct. On the drawing, one is, the original is option A, the alternative is option B.
I didn't like my 1 or 2, huh?
Okay, yes, both work, yeah.
If
So
I
which-
can,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ms. Lee, there is a condenser unit located where now?
Oh, yes, actually, that's good, that's a good point, because if you look at the new survey, the survey engineer already located existing AC condenser. Existing condenser, it's basically at where the addition will be. Basically, the new condenser, the existing condenser and the new, there are already 2 condensers on the site where the patio is. If you look at the existing survey, so we need that stuff anyway. So right now, I think it's about a couple of feet, maybe less than 2 feet closer to the neighbor with the new condenser.
But the plan calls to replace an existing condenser and install a new one additional condenser, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and just to clarify, which is the recommended option? Is it option A? Because you have 2 options in your drawing, so which one is the recommended?
I think our idea
Well,
is,
the request, the application request option A,
Okay.
but the applicant would be willing to move the condensers if the board, conditioned, again, if the board were inclined to approve, to move the condensers farther away from the adjoining property.
And just so I understand, there are 2 existing condensers, correct?
Correct.
And they're shown, their location is depicted on the survey, the new survey that was submitted.
yes.
Option A shows 2 condensers.
I think both proposed, both A and B,
Both show 2 condensers.
2 condensers.
So I just want to make sure, if option A is instituted, then obviously the existing 2 condensers are gone, and the location for 2 condensers would be option A, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I heard something about 1 condenser being added, but we have 2, the applicant has 2 condensers currently, and is proposing a total of 2 condensers.
Yes, basically, every house needs 2 condensers. It's where now it's like existing is where they are now. And then we have A and we have B. That's the proposed. Yeah, 1 and 2.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Grant?
No questions.
Mr. Griffith?
The new condensers are larger than the previous ones, correct? Since they're serving a larger square footage?
Actually, I don't think so. I mean, not necessarily. I wouldn't say that because that's really up to by the time, really up to but for house this size, the maximum, I'm showing the biggest condenser for the house this size, 2 of them, like 30 by 30, 30 by 30.
You're saying from the capacity, you've increased the number of square feet you had, and you previously had 2 condensers. You have much more square footage. You still have 2 condensers. These new condensers have greater capacity. They are larger in their...
They're in greater capacity, but they are not necessarily larger. One is, I don't know, the new condensers, they are, yes, they're not necessarily bigger to be more, to have more capacity. And also, what I've been showing is the biggest condenser, like...
Ms. Lee, new condensers are more efficient than old condensers, is that?
Yeah,
industry?
basically the size of a condenser are not necessarily larger, even though they can be bigger in capacity.
And all industry literature shows that they're quieter as well, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you know what the rating is, the SEER rating is for the new condensers compared to the old?
I guess that's really, I mean, usually it's up to the homeowner to choose what's the ceiling. That's I think that's more the capacity versus the noise.
Mr. Griffith, we
Yeah.
could, again, if the
Yeah,
board
we
were
can
inclined
comply,
to
exactly, yeah.
approve, we would agree to a SEER rating that the board determined, at a,
I honestly don't know what the better ratings are. I know there are differences. It would be to your advantage to be able to compare it and say, this much better.
I think the higher ceiling is just more for better comfort for the homeowners.
I would
yeah.
expect that the new ones are quieter than the
Yes,
old ones.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it would expect, but I don't like to work on expectations, or I think, or not necessarily. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Cruz?
I have no questions.
All right, Mr. Simon?
Good evening. For the location A for the condensers, it's on L100, it's shown as being on top of the existing patio. Was the intent to keep the patio that's not covered by the extension, to keep the full, what's shown of the patio once you build the extension, or will all of the patio be removed?
All the
for just
patio will
pat-
be removed. Yes.
And removing of the patio is in your calculation for impervious coverage?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay. I see that you took the board's suggestion for adding evergreens for screening and privacy.
Yes.
Do you have more details on how many trees will be planted, or what kind of screening you're suggesting?
We don't have detail, but we could provide. I think it's, yes, we could provide a number of evergreen and the species.
Okay, but there's no plan as of today?
No.
Mr. Simon, again, we could defer to whoever the administrative agent is within the town for their we would meet whatever their requirement was for their satisfaction as a condition of approval.
Who would that be? Do we have an arborist, a township arborist?
Yes, we do. There's also a list of native species in our ordinance I can send you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll begin with Mr. Simon's last point. So I do think that in terms of if the decision is to move the condensers to the 4 area, or area A, I guess that would be, then it would be surrounded by evergreens.
Yes, in either location.
I would think that 2 conditions would be important. Number 1 would be that the evergreens would completely conceal the condensers from the streetscape. And then secondly, that whatever evergreens are planted, we would have the assurances that those would not encroach upon the neighbor's property.
I think it would be, they would conceal from the streetscape and the adjacent property, both.
Yes, of course, they would conceal, but I want to make sure that they don't grow in such a manner that they would
Okay.
encroach upon the neighbor's property. And you indicated that these condensers that are under consideration would be quieter and therefore would not, you were taking into consideration the potential sound impact for the neighbor. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, this is really just about an improvement of any appliances and building material these days. They are made quieter, the newer ones, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, there's also the requirement of, although Montclair doesn't have a specific requirement, there's 65 decibels at 5 feet, so we certainly would not have any condensers that exceed that decibel rating.
All right, thank you. So, Ms. Lee, you when you talked about the addition, you mentioned that you, I guess in conversation with the Historic Preservation Commission, you looked at the aesthetics of this addition from the perspective of, again, the streetscape. Was there any consideration given to the aesthetics from the vantage point of the neighbor?
I think to keep it low will be basically to keep the addition as low as possible. That will be the consideration from the vantage for not only the neighbor on the left or number right, basically to keep it low profile. That's my start point.
And so what are the features of this besides, I guess the height is what you're talking about in terms of keeping it low? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Are there other features to this that you looked at, again, to create the assurance that, again, this addition would not have any kind of a negative impact upon the neighbor?
Yes, but for example, if you look at the floor plan, first floor plan, A10, actually the more telling one is the drawing, the exterior elevation, proposed elevation, A201. The elevation that's facing the neighbor on the left side is number 2, the left elevation. You can see those windows facing.
I'm sorry, tell me where you are again now?
Page A201.
Yes.
Number 2, the lower left
Yes,
corner.
okay.
You see the new windows. They were intentionally kept high windows for the privacy of the neighbors on the left side. There's a person that person is 6 foot, and then basically is the windows on the left side facing the neighbor. They were kept as high window, so that is basically with the intention that to keep the for privacy.
So help me to just understand how that is to the advantage of the neighbor as opposed to the advantage of the homeowner. I understand, I mean, because on the one hand, if the windows are lower and if there's landscaping between the two properties, then the windows perhaps would be less visible to the neighbor. But if the windows are higher as you have designed them, would they not be more visible to the neighbor? Just help me understand.
I guess the higher windows for privacy is really for the benefits of both sides. People do, for privacy, you do not want to be seen. You also do want to see other people. It's a business, right? So I would say, yeah, you can say that I keep those windows high is for the benefit of the homeowners, of my clients. But on the other hand, I would think human psychology-wise, also for the benefits of the people on the other side, yeah.
Those windows face a driveway of the neighbors on Gates Avenue, is that correct?
Correct.
It's not a side yard of the houses on Gates Avenue, correct? It's a rear
Correct.
yard? It's a rear
the
yard?
driveway, yeah.
And so right now there's a 6-foot fence on the property line, is that correct?
Yes, I believe the homeowner will actually replace and install new fence.
Okay,
at
but
their
there's a
property.
6-foot fence, and then there's a driveway on the adjoining property owner's property, correct?
Correct.
And that goes to a 2-story or 1.5-story detached garage, is that correct?
Correct.
So there's more room between the two houses because the house on Gates Avenue is the backyard as opposed to if they were a side yard, is that correct?
Correct.
So, thank you for that, but I think part of what I look at is, and I guess this is one of the reasons why this question just really occurs to me, is that the placement of the windows, you're, in a sense, looking at it from the perspective of persons that would be in the driveway or maybe on the first floor of the neighbor's property. But what about the second floor or the third floor of that house? Looking again across, because that's part of what I think we all look at is when the neighbors are looking out their windows, what's sort of the impact in terms of their view?
I think what they are looking at, if you look at actually the new, if you look at the Google, I think that's L101. If you see what they are going to look at, it's no different from what anybody's looking at their roof. This is neighbor on the left. They also have a flat roof, 1-story addition or part of the house. Actually, even this part looks like flat.
Yes.
So what we're creating, it's no different from this. I mean, I always take clues from the context when I design. And I would say actually many houses in this neighborhood has this composition, have the 2-story original house with a 1-story and with TPO roofing, which is white instead of the typical black. So this is very contextual. So what this neighbor on the left looking at is no different
Ms. Lee,
from what
if
Miller
I
get.
can, Mr. Chairman, if mind, please indulge me. Ms. Lee, the structure to be added on the southerly side, the side on Gates Avenue, that is going to be 1-story, correct?
Yes, the back is 1-story.
There is no addition to the second floor on that side, correct?
Correct.
The second floor addition on the other side does not require a variance, is that correct?
Correct.
That is permitted.
Correct.
Okay. The chairman's questions about windows, obviously, they're important questions, but we don't need relief from that side, correct?
Correct, not that side.
So, and I'm assuming that from the interior of the additions, if we were to be inside, these windows would be eye level or above. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which is why you're saying they would be privacy.
Yes,
they would afford
I think the
privacy.
privacy is really for both sides.
All right. Then I'd like to, okay. The nature of the neighbor's property, as Mr. Mancera has already indicated, there is a driveway that separates the two properties. And I may be mistaken, but it appears as though the driveway is somewhat circular, meaning that it circles behind the house and then exits on the side street on Gates Avenue. I may not be correct about that, but it appears as though the front yard is really, in a sense, is the backyard. And so the question I have is just in terms of making sure that if the neighbor is having activities in essentially their backyard, which is really in the front yard, that the condensers would not have any negative impact on their activities in that area. Can you give us that assurance?
Yes, that's actually, yeah, that's an interesting observation. Yes, the backyard, it's there, yeah, front yard, so.
Okay. And where the patio, the proposed new deck and patio for your client would, while it sits further back, that would have no impact on the neighbor, given the location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
your view?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Correct. It's a good point, that one.
And if I remember correctly, at the last hearing, when we had talked about the condensers, you had indicated that there was no other area in which the condensers could be placed other than on the
yes, on the
side
left
of the
side,
is
yes.
the south side of this house?
Correct. Technically, yes.
And you had explored other potential locations?
I mean, we actually talked about you can put like where the garage is, but I think that will compromise the efficiency, the life expect, and the technical performance of the unit, like basic cross the yard and the cost of trenching. I think that's a little far.
So, just one second. So, what about where you have the extension on the back and then you have the deck patio area. Had you considered the possibility of putting the condensers on the I think that would be the southwest corner of the deck. Was that a possible consideration?
I don't know how much better it would be for the,
For the benefit of the neighbor?
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much better.
Would it not be further away from the property line?
And then, but then it would be in the middle of the backyard, sort
It
of.
wouldn't be in the middle of the backyard, I'm saying right up against, or as you noted before, a 2-foot buffer between the condensers and the actual building, the new building.
Mr. Chairman, I believe it'd be closer closer to the property line because of the angle of the property. The property is not
Yeah,
perfectly
that's
square.
true. Yeah, in a way. Yes.
Well, it would be if you're, but I'm not saying simply sliding it further to the, I think is west. I'm not sure if my geography is correct here.
Yeah, that's west.
Okay, so I'm not saying, I'm saying that you would turn the corner towards the north. So it would really be
In the back.
in the back, yes,
Backyard, in the back of the addition.
of the addition, correct.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now. That would basically involving pushing the condensers past the deck, 14-feet deck.
Or modifying the design of the deck in order to accommodate the condensers.
I think, yes, and then it will be,
Well, I would simply commend that as a point of consideration for a possible location of the condensers that would have a minimal impact upon the neighborhood, because again, as I understand it, again, it would have, then it would be in an area that perhaps would have more of an impact on their driveway, and maybe if there's a garage back there or whatever, but it wouldn't necessarily have an impact on their living and recreational space.
I think
Okay.
if I may to speak from architecture point of view, the deck is the extension of the house, so we keep them flush, and that's it's for the aesthetics of the indoor outdoor.
I think I understand that,
Yeah.
but I still would commend it for your consideration.
Okay.
Okay. All right, are there other questions? Mr. Griffith, you had a question?
I'm going to amplify this same point. So just to be clear that everybody understands what we're talking about, if you look at A101, drawing 1, that shows the condensers on the side of the house, we're discussing moving them up the page and pushing the porch in a few feet in order to push the condensers in, such that the condensers do not compromise the existing side yard setback. The other good thing about this location is, across the property line, is the neighbor's garage, which acoustically would be ideal for the neighbor, and this is still adjacent, directly adjacent to the house. It does mean your back porch is slightly smaller, slightly less perfect, but not totally compromised. I think it's a reasonable proposal. As far as if you go to Home Depot and buy these things, or buy them from an engineer, from a contractor, they may tell you, well, it's too far away. You may need to hire an engineer and get the engineer to design the piping and the length of the piping and the size of the unit such that it can work in this location. That may be something you need to do in order to make it work, but it can work, in my opinion.
Yes, actually, we did talk to a contractor, and then the only thing is, one is trenching, and the other is, I think, the farther away from the house. It compromised the life cycle of the units. That's the answer, yeah.
It's a bigger pump. It's just about capacity.
Mr. Griffith, I appreciate your suggestion. I just would like to remind the board that the first option was to put the condensers where they exist. to replace them with where they are now. There's never been any complaint whatsoever about noise from those condensers.
I thought where they were was tucked behind this
Yes.
existing building.
That's correct. And they're-
Well, it's still within but within the setback.
No, no, they're here. This is,
They're depicted on the revised survey that was submitted.
if we look at L100,
I understand. Basically, the board is proposing that back, so it's more sheltered by the garage in this location. Maybe more inward. I think that's what, to be clear, that's the board is proposing,
I
right?
can't see that well from here. but-
She's talking about putting it-
Maybe I can
Yeah,
do.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
accurate.
basically, yeah.
You have to push the
Yeah.
deck in a little bit,
Mhm.
and you're gonna lose 2 or 3 feet of deck. You gotta put the condensers back there, they're
So
gonna
this is the deck.
they're not going to be compromising the existing non-conforming setback that you have. So that's being respected. You're directly adjacent to the neighbor's garage. They can't really complain about the acoustics in this location. And, you know, your contractor may complain about that it's easier and it's a shorter length for them to have it right adjacent to where the air handler is. I don't know where it is in the building, but it's probably upstream a little bit. But it's just a longer length of pipe that they have to run. They may have to buy a bigger condenser that has a bigger pump.
Yeah, basically,
It's not impossible to do.
Okay. Mr. Simon?
Question, if they were to move it to that back corner, would that remove the condition for screening that we would put on?
Yes, it wouldn't be relevant, because the purpose of the screening was to
For the
conceal
condensers, right?
the
Just
condensers.
to be clear, that is though closer to the neighbor's house.
Excuse me?
If the
It's-
proposed, because of the way the houses are situated, and I can read.
Yeah, I don't think that's what,
I don't think that's accurate.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't think that's an accurate statement.
I can recall my client to testify to that.
If you look at L101,
Yeah.
the picture in the lower left-hand corner,
Uh-huh.
you can see the neighbor's garage, I
I
believe.
think they're proposing here.
And this new location puts the condensers up adjacent to that garage based on your new plans, as I best understand it. Is that not correct?
It's correct. Basically,
Okay, thank you.
you're
And
proposing
so the
that
statement that it's
back.
closer to the house, it's closer to the garage, which obstructs the sound getting to the house.
That's the garage.
It's a better deal for the neighbor from an acoustic point of view.
I think we propose
I
somewhere
don't
here.
want you to think I was trying to be untruthful. My client is saying.
I understand.
My client is saying that if they move it closer to the front of his house, it is farther away from the neighbor's house.
I hear you, and I hear your client.
Yes, it is, you're right, it may be further away from, but it's closer to the recreational space.
And it's not-
So,
and
so
not
it's a trade-off,
position
right,
of the-
exactly.
I understand. I just-
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
are there other members of the board that have questions? All right, are there questions, please? Thank you, Ms. Lee. You need to remain so you can respond to questions, please. Yes, thank you.
I stay here?
just give us your appearance again, Mr. Gilson.
Yes, thank you. Matthew Gilson from the law firm of Murphy, Schiller, and Wilkes on behalf of the owners of 185 Gates. So I'd like to first just clarify something. You said that the proposed addition that abuts closest to my client's property that causes the side yard setback variance, that's only a one-story? That's not going to be 2 stories?
For me?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at the L101, if you look at any drawings with the side plan, the shaded pink. Oh, yes. If you look, if you look at any side plans, it's L-shaped. The shaded part is addition, increase the footprint is L-shaped. The one where it says adding 414 square foot, that is two-story because that is to complete the geometry of the colonial house. So the addition, that L-shaped shaded pink, is sort of like have two part. One is the front part. It's where the patio is. Let's call that to complete the missing corner. That is the two-story with a minor ridge, with lower ridge per the recommendation of HPC. And then the skinny L at the back, it's one story. So let's just say this addition has the one part, the front part is to complete the colonial geometry. It's two-story. The back part, skinny L, is the one story.
Understood. I'll come back to that in a minute. So my next question has to do with the side yard setback. You've noted that the side yard setback goes from I can get the exact numbers, but it's 5 feet and change to 5 feet and change but less. Is that correct?
From 5.56 feet to 5.33 feet.
Now that 5.6 feet is currently on the existing one-story portion of the home. That's correct? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what is the length of that portion of the one-story addition where the side yard setback is currently only 5.6 and change feet?
You mean the existing?
Yeah,
one
the
story?
existing one-story. I'm trying to discuss the actual impact of this
It
side
looks
yard
like
setback.
probably 18 to 20 feet. I do not have the exact, yeah.
So how long on the L shape is the length that'll be going into the side yard setback?
The L, that's a skinny part at the back, is 18. And the part that's to complete the missing corner is about 15 and 18.
So that portion of the house on which the L extension is coming off the side, what is the current side yard setback to the property at 185 Gates?
The current is 5.56 feet.
That's not, but I'm asking, not the portion that exists, the one-story portion. The other portion to which you're adding the L shape, what is the current setback?
You mean basically without
the addition.
Existing. I guess we have to look at the survey. The survey does not have that. If I eyeball it, it's probably, I would say, 5, like 10, 12, maybe 15, 10 to 15.
So you're saying that L-shaped addition is 5 feet wide? 5 to 7 feet wide?
Are you talking about the front part?
So you have the L-shaped addition that goes on the side, that's shaded in red on the site plan. How wide is that addition?
There are two parts. The front part, I would say, about 12 feet, and the back part with setback, about 10 feet.
So you have a 5-foot current setback plus a 12-foot addition. So you would say it's a 17-foot setback currently from the side of the house to the property line?
5, I would say 15. I mean, because
So while you've made a lot of how this is a very small increase to the side yard setback, that's only for a very small portion of the house. The majority of this new addition that you're adding, there's a 17-foot setback that now you're decreasing to 5 feet. Would that be a fair statement?
basically the addition is taking the space where current patio is, the current patio.
So right now, from my client's and your client's shared fence to their house on the part that is not the one-story addition is about 17 feet.
Objection, is that a statement or a question? Or?
Ask the question to confirm that, please.
So would you say that the portion from the shared fence to the existing house, not the one-story abutment, but the new portion that's being added, is about 17 feet?
I don't think it's 17. Basically, are you asking basically how much side yard setback they are losing by adding this corner, correct?
Yes, I'm asking how much side yard setback is being lost.
It's not 17. I would say it's 10, between 10 and 12, yeah.
So when you say the side yard setback is going down by less than a foot, you're only talking about a very small portion of the property. For the majority of this property and now this addition, the side yard setback is being drastically decreased from around 17 feet to around 5
He's
feet.
testifying.
Well, okay. Is it your opinion that the setback reduction is drastic in that portion of the property?
I'm going to back up one step. The definition of the setback, it's not at any point of the building. So if I design by zoning regulation, I will go by the definition. It's go to measure the narrowest part. So for that standpoint, we're not looking at any point of the building, the setback, but we're looking at narrowest part. What's the narrowest part existing, and what's the narrowest part of proposed?
Okay, but there is a change here in that rear portion of the home. There's an existing setback to that back corner, and that's going to be reduced by this addition going in. And what is the delta that's...
Yes, that was his question. I think I will look at it. I don't have the exact dimension, but I eyeball it, it's not 17. I would say it's 10. And then also, any design, when we design with the regulation, zoning regulation in mind, we're going for the definition of setback. It's the narrowest existing and the narrowest proposed. You can't look at any point of the building and look at any point of the change. Otherwise, you can't do any design or addition.
I understand that technical standpoint, but you're asking the board to accept the variance here, so I'm trying to describe the scope of the variance. So let's make this really easy. How wide is the portion of the extension that you are building, that you have designed in that L shape on the side of the building?
It's the same width of the existing building.
Which is?
47 feet, 2.5 inch.
It can't be.
The width of the house, how wide of is it? Oh, the addition.
How wide is this addition?
Addition. I would say, yeah, we don't have it here, and it's excluding the chimney. I would say it's 12.
What is the argument that you're making here?
My argument that I'm making, Mr. Chairman, is that, well, the side yard setback is being presented as a very small change. That change is very small for only a tiny portion of this addition. The current portion where you see the red that's being added, there's nothing there right now. So for the majority of this property, the side yard setback is being drastically increased and into the variance zone. So while from a technical measurement of where does the smallest portion go, yeah, it's only being 6 inches or so, but that's such a small portion of the overall addition here. You're getting a new addition of 2 stories that's going to tower into my client's property. This is their living room, is right up against it's the closest to the fence. This is a drastic addition. This is not a 6-inch encroachment into the side yard setback as being portrayed. It may be from a strictly way of measuring by the ordinance, but I'm asking the board to consider the entirety of the impact of this addition.
I think your point is well taken. I think you've tried to get that quantified. I don't know if these applicants are able to do that. No. Are you able to do that?
Mr. Sullivan, I think that the easiest way to do this would be for the architect to simply tell me how wide the addition she's building is, and then we would know how much setback we're losing.
Don't the drawings show you that?
Yeah, if you look at the A101.
More so than what she says.
But the drawing, there's no dimension on the drawing.
Hold on a minute. So basically, what you've indicated is that when you say that there's nothing there, meaning there's no building there.
There's no building there now.
Okay. But there is patio space there, is that not correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, but that patio space is there's a fence there. So anybody standing there on the patio, that's not obstructing my client. An addition of a two-story building.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that the clarity you're trying to bring is that this additional structure has a different impact on your neighbor than patio or recreational space. Is that the
Yes, I
argument
would
that you're
certainly
making?
argue
This
that.
is existing, this is existing.
Okay, do we know how wide the addition is in that area?
No, it's 12. I think it's 12.
12 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. You have another question? Mr.
I mean, that's
Yeah, that's-
excluding the chimney. Where was the chimney stand?
Just check.
I think the point has been made. Is there another question that you have?
Yeah, I just have a few more questions. Was any consideration given to making this addition go fully out the back of the house and to not impede on the side yard setback?
I believe that question was asked at the previous hearing, and I believe that the architect had explained that given the style of the architectural style of the house, I think she spoke about the depth of it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Would you want to revisit that, please?
Yes, yes. To add the two-story addition at the back of the house will bring no light. I mean, it's a center hall colonial with a stair hall with windows to bring in natural light. And the house is deep enough now, currently at 34 feet. If to have the addition going back, what we will there will be basically no light to the interior of the second floor. If we have to do that, we will end up opening large windows to get light toward your neighbor.
So is it then your testimony that you chose to go out the side instead of the back because it was detrimental to your client to go out the back?
I mean, if we had to go to the back, they will totally different house. They will have like windows facing like large windows to get natural light, and then those windows will be actually looking at the neighbor on the left side.
I have no further questions for this witness. Thank you.
Are there other members of the public that have questions?
Mr. Chairman, my next witness will be our professional planner, Alex McClean.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Alexander McClean. Last name is M-C-C-L-E-A-N. My address is 137 Heckle Street, H-E-C-K-E-L Street in Belleville, New Jersey.
Mr. McClean, could you give the board the benefit of your professional education and experience, please?
Sure. Yeah, so I hold a master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers University. I'm a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, licensed by the State Board of Professional Planners. I'm a practicing planner over 10 years, testified for boards all over the state, and I am currently or have been the principal planner for the city of East Orange for over a year and a half.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer Mr. McClean as an expert.
Your license is in good standing?
Yes, yeah, active and in good standing.
Yeah, we'll accept your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McClean, you're familiar with the property at 84 Clinton Avenue in Montclair, correct?
I am.
Okay, and you have studied the property and the surrounding properties, is that correct?
I have,
Okay.
yes.
And as a professional planner, you have looked at this application and made certain observations and conclusions, is that correct?
I have, yes.
Can you give the board the benefit of your observations, please?
Sure. Yeah, so we are talking about upgrade to a permitted single-family home in the RO Mountainside zoning district. And actually, I just wanted to just refer to the, it's kind of hard to see it, but.
Okay, what are we referring to?
This is my only exhibit here.
Okay, so why don't, we're going to mark this. I think this is the first exhibit. This is A1. And this is an exhibit that you prepared?
Yes.
Do you have handouts for the board?
I do not. Just.
Is it just this one sheet, or is there multiple sheets?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so what is it titled?
So this is an aerial of the subject property and the surrounding lots.
And that was prepared by you?
Correct.
And is there a date on that?
Yes, it's today.
So that's April, what is this, 22?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's A1. Okay, proceed.
Right.
So can you describe for the board the configuration of that lot and how it relates in size to
Yes,
the other lots in the neighborhood?
Okay. Yeah, so I just, I prepared this so just to kind of orientate the board. So the property, as you can see, is on the west side of the right-of-way. And you can see, I don't want to get into the light. It's behind, I guess, the property that the opposing counsel has been referring to in their client. It's 185 Gates. And just to kind of just orientate the board around the dimensions of the lot, how it kind of, it's very narrow, as you can see, compared to a lot of the other lots, especially 185 Gates, and how it kind of tapers out to the back. So it's, there are some physical challenges considering that this is a property built in 1926. So it's, much has changed since then. And creating, contributing to some of the constraints here. But we are talking about, what I believe is to be a pretty modest improvement, and the relief that's being sought I believe is a function of the undersized nature of the lot. The lot is it's 12,131 square feet. It is this is with a building coverage limit of 20%, because the existing home is 16% building coverage. So the modest scale of the home is evident of the in looking of the compliant building coverage, as I just noted. The applicant has voluntarily approached the Historic Commission, as noted before, for input and complied with their recommendations. Just wanted to establish here that it's important to stress that that each application stands on its own merits, and just because something requires a variance doesn't automatically mean that it's inappropriate. So as I mentioned before, so this lot is located on lot 10 of block 1202. It's an undersized lot with a 20,000 square foot minimum requirement. Also note here, just as you can mention before, that this is the lot width requirement here is 100 feet, where the current existing lot is roughly 63 feet. So it's about 40 feet smaller than the current requirements. So we're talking about a 2.5-story dwelling. We are proposing the demolition of the chimney, which has been modified according to the recommendations by the Historic Commission. Construction of a second floor addition in the south elevation, extension of the upper roof access to the entire front facade. The property was identified as a harmonizing building in the nomination report for the for the first residential historic district. And this is a potential district, so I just want to put that onto the record. As mentioned before, we are seeking relief for the side yard setback, and where
This would be a C2 variance, is that correct?
That's correct.
Can
Yeah.
you explain to the board what the C2 criteria are and what the applicant has presented this evening?
Sure. So the C2 requirements requires applicants to demonstrate that the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh any detriments. And I'll start with just the positive criteria here. So the purpose of the zoning set forth in the municipal land use law as to why the requirements exist in the first place, and I believe that this application advances multiple purposes of the municipal land use law. Purpose A, for the promotion of general welfare, as we're talking about upgrading an existing permitted home to a more spacious, comfortable living environment. and creating a more normal shaped home that kind of fills out, as mentioned by the architect, that voided area and that L-shaped area. As you heard from the applicant, is why the addition is necessary. They are seeking to accommodate the need to work from home, which is a more pretty increasingly common feature now in homes. It's just, I believe the improvements don't just benefit the resident, but this is an improvement to a home in the overall housing stock of the community. I believe it advances purpose G for variety for appropriate locations, since we are talking about a single family home in a permitted zone. Purpose I for desirable visual impact, since this is a highly historic and aesthetic home, and it's in compliance with the Historic Commission's recommendations. There is no there's no impact to the streetscape, as mentioned by the commissioner before, since we are talking about improvements to the side and to the rear of the home. And purpose M for efficient use of land, since we're not talking about demolishing the existing home and creating a new one. We're talking about working with the existing structure here. With respect to the negative criteria, I don't see any substantial detriment to the public good or to the zone or the master plan, since we are talking about filling a void. It's out of view from the streetscape, and the building coverage is compliant. We're talking about increasing it from 16% to 19% of the lot area, so it's still below the maximum. And I believe that the impervious coverage for which a variance is being sought is de minimis. It's a 1.6 over the maximum. And the side yard setback variances are relative to the driveway in the neighbor's backyard. It's not impacting any usable yard area.
You think also that there's, the applicant has proven that a C1 variance in this setting?
Yes, I do. I believe that considering the width of the lot itself, creates considerable constraints, and it as you can see, the lot tapers out. So you also have the lot on the corner. It has basically two egresses from the driveway, so it kind of it creates a very awkward situation for the neighboring lot. So I just wanted to put that on for the record too. So, but with that, I believe that the applicant is seeking to stay in the home and just make a modest improvement to accommodate the family, to support their ability to work from home. As I noted, which is increasingly common. The applicant has gone to great lengths to work with the township to reconcile the historic preservation goals of the township, and to create a home that allows to work from home. Yeah, so with that, I believe that the statutory criteria are met and that the approval is warranted. Yeah.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Vieira?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Grant?
No questions.
Mr. Cruz?
I just had two questions. You had mentioned the the lot widths. How would you compare the lot width of this property compared to some of the ones that might be in East Orange in terms of side yard setbacks? Do they tend to have smaller setbacks or larger setbacks, or?
I mean, I wouldn't want to kind of characterize it in relation to this application, since, you know, this is a very, is an incredibly narrow lot here, and it creates, you know, considerable challenges. But I really can't, I mean, typically, you know, you'll see a lot of 25 by 100 foot lots. So, also very narrow, you know. And in the mix of property types you see across, at least in my municipality, it's pretty wide. You have in Presidential Heights in the northeast corner of the city, you have large lots, and then you go down to our Greenwood redevelopment area, which is along the I-280, and you'll get very narrow lots that don't even allow parking in the front, or, you know, forces developers to kind of provide parking in tandem, which is something that's, you know, we're increasingly discouraging now.
So then, I guess so in the specific context of this particular lot, you would find that the setback is warranted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also too, just in terms of, I guess, like the positive and negative criteria, do you have any, you know, obviously there's a neighbor that has come with some complaint. Would you happen to have any opinion as to alleviating any concerns that they may have from a planning perspective?
I mean, I think the only thing that can be done, I guess, is really the screening, which we touched upon at the top of the hearing. So, you know, it's the lot is, you know, almost 40 feet in terms of width below the minimum lot width requirement. So it's, you know, it's incredibly tough to work with. So, you know, it definitely speaks to this, to satisfying the C1 criteria for hardship there. So,
Okay, so just so we're clear, initially I heard that this application was coming in as a C2 variance.
Yes, yeah.
Are you indicating that you're also proceeding under C1 or solely under C2?
I'm saying that it supports, it just as an aside, it supports a C1.
As an aside,
request.
or it's justified independently as a C1?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You could say both. I'm just,
Okay.
I heard C2 only. I want to
Yeah,
make sure I
yeah.
understand. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Mr. Griffith?
Thank you, sir.
I have no questions.
All right, Mr. Simon?
No questions.
Mr. Church?
No, sign. No questions.
So just one question. Do I understand, Mr. McClean, that your professional assessment is that this proposal will add not only have a positive impact on the value of the property, but also on the neighborhood? Is that what you're arguing?
Yes, and I'm so glad that you touched upon that, because I want to just also, I forgot to mention in my testimony the purposes in the Township's Historic Preservation Ordinance. So it does speak to safeguarding the heritage of Montclair by preserving resources, which I believe this checks that box off. Reflects the elements of its cultural, social, and economic and cultural history. Another one is maintaining, developing an appropriate and harmonious society, which I believe that this does. Stabilizing and improving property values in the township. It's not impacting the streetscape. It's working with the Historic Commission. And encouraging proper maintenance and reinvestment in buildings. That's what this does. So, and it discourages any unnecessary demolition. So I think that it speaks to the historic preservation element of the township.
All right, thank you. We'll then turn to Mr. Gilson. Do you have questions?
So I'd like to revisit a specific comment that you made during your testimony. You stated that this creates an awkward situation for the neighbor, which would be my client. What did you mean by this creates an awkward situation for them?
There's an extra microphone on thank you.
Yeah, I was just speaking to the driveway configuration of your client's property. So it's, you know, it creates, like, I guess, another, you know, most homes don't have that kind of configuration. So it's abutting the side yard of this applicant that's already is considerably constrained, has an incredibly narrow lot that tapers out into the rear. So there is incredible, I believe, hardship here.
So, yeah, as a planner, what would you characterize the typical reasons for a side yard setback ordinance?
The reasons for a side yard setback, well, I mean, it's lot configuration, topology. That's kind of what the justification is for such relief.
And you don't believe that there, in your professional opinion, there'll be no negative impact in moving the current setback of the building, which the architect testified is about 17 feet to 5 feet from my client's property?
I believe that it's certainly a negotiation, and you have to reconcile the surrounding context with the existing nature of the property then in question.
So is the benefit here to the neighborhood at large or to your client?
As I noted before, I believe it benefits. It brings the applicant's property to modern living standards. The home was built in 1926, as stated before. So I believe that this is a modest rounding out of the existing structure, and that can be mitigated with screening.
How would you plan on screening a two-story addition from my client's property? I don't understand that.
I mean, it's...
I understand screening equipment. If you're going to build a two-story addition, how do you plan on screening a two-story addition? Is there going to be a giant net?
I mean, there's a driveway separating the home on 185 Gates. That's my understanding, so
But you just testified that there would be screening. I'm really unsure as to what the screening would be that would protect from a two-story addition.
I mean, it's homes on both sides of here have 2 stories. So I mean, you're going to every home on either side is going to be able to see into another neighbor's yards or across the property line. So
I get that happens, but isn't that why we have a side yard setback ordinance to prevent that from being an unlivable condition?
But you have to also consider the constraints that are being.
I understand the constraints, but don't those constraints just alleviating them benefit your client? They don't. How do they benefit the neighborhood? They benefit your client to be able to expand his house to the detriment of my client.
I'm sorry. Yeah, one can certainly try to characterize it that way. I don't believe that that's the case here.
I have no further questions.
I have a question for the witness. Yes. Mr. McClean, side yard setbacks are generally created when you have adjoining side yards, correct?
Yes.
Are there 2 adjoining side yards in this situation? Gates
I don't
Avenue
believe
is
so, no.
actually- Gates
No.
Avenue is actually a backyard, isn't it?
You're correct,
So
yes.
Wouldn't that be a satisfactory reason to perhaps relax side yard requirements because it's not a typical side yard?
I believe so, yes.
All right.
I have a further.
Why don't you hold on? Okay. All right. You have a question? Mr. Griffith?
The existing house that we're talking about, so that's a backyard setback that it's supposed to comply with?
Who's the question addressed to? Mr. Gilson?
The expert witness.
Oh, Mr.
or-
McClean?
Or the expert witness, whoever wants to
So,
answer that
okay.
question.
Mr. McClean, I
Well,
think the question.
as you said, the side yard abuts the rear of the property, so, yeah.
My point
Yes,
is, that the
yeah.
building that we're talking about that's so offended by the side yard setback here has a rear yard setback that I think it is not in compliance with. Is that true or not?
I don't know the answer to that question.
It's an interesting question, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Are there other members?
I have one follow-up question. Did you consider the layout of the home at 185 Gates as to how the side yard setback? And I asked that question because much has been made of how their backyard would be used. But did you consider the layout of the home and whether the side yard setback, the portion, the house closest, was their living room?
I don't know the floor plan of the of the property on 185 Gates. So there's no way for me to have known that their living room was back there.
All right.
Yeah.
No
Thank you.
further
So-
questions.
No, please remain, please. So are there any members of the public that have any questions or statements? Mr. Gilson, do you have any final statement that you want to
I
make?
would like to call my client up. He'd like to present some pictures
Is that-
addressing the
is that-
situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
All
mean, he has the
Mr.
right to
you
call
can
a witness.
Have a seat, Mr. McClean.
He has some pictures. Can he? You have a flash drive, right?
All right, and the exhibits that we've depicted on the screen here, you're gonna have to submit paper copies to, hard copies to the planning office. Oh, okay. And if that's the case, Mr. Gilson, also with your client.
We will do that.
And
I
Mr.
also
Gilson, do you know
apologize.
how many exhibits? Mr. Gilson, do you know how many photographs your client wishes to present?
It's about 7 or 8.
Okay, so I guess do you want them marked separately or collectively as?
I have no objection to being marked collectively.
Okay, so these series of 7 or 8 photographs that we're gonna find out, they are going to be collectively marked as O1.
The PowerPoint's not gonna work on you. It's not connected to the internet. So I can't sign it.
That's existing, and this is where he wants to put the new ones. See, if this is existing, why aren't they staying there? What am I missing? What am I missing? I hate them.
Mostly in Bergen.
Where's your office?
No.
Oh.
We're in Gateway. I'm just.
Yeah, the Gateway. I was just there yesterday morning. He was at the NJ Transit event.
Yeah, same, we're Gateway 1, so we're like in the same building as Gateway 1.
Oh, okay.
Some of my sort of videos as well. I was going to show like it's extended. So
It's his,
it's not working for you.
It's basically just like his living room, like if you look at his living room, you're gonna see this giant addition.
oh.
I mean, look, our main argument is that like the side yard setback is this much, but for a lot of it.
Saying the internet is a problem. Saying the internet is not connected. Yeah, the issue is the PowerPoint, they need to log in to use it. So they need to use it.
You want me to take this back out?
Under 1 minute.
But I can use it, will be YouTube in video as well. No, it's all in there.
Second minute.
Sure.
Not to give you my husband.
No, not at all. We're on the planning board, they give them away.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, it says most people don't say
No, Janice Tally's the director. Yeah. There's two planners. There's only us. We have an economic development. The economic development person, yeah.
All right, we're going to reconvene.
Oh, it's working now?
Mr. Vieira's. Where did Mr. Vieira go? Mr. Vieira.
He was right there.
He was right there. Now he's.
Alan was right there.
Where'd he go? All right. All right, we're going to proceed then. Yes, Mr. Gilson. Yes,
Thank
please.
you. I have one witness, my client. I will let him pronounce his last name so I do not butcher it.
All right, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth of the matter pending before the board?
I do.
State your last name.
Nourollah Zadeh. I can spell it for you as well. Nourolahzadeh.
Yeah. What?
185 Yates Avenue, Montclair. Thank you. I'm a co-owner of the property. thank you again for all the time you taken for this case. I heard a lot about how we use our house, from everybody, but I just wanted you guys to hear from us and how is our living situation. I just want to show you a few pictures. It won't take long.
Okay, we collectively marked the series of photographs as O1.
Okay. So just a little background. The next few minutes, again, if you can just put yourself in my shoes as my fellow neighbors and kind of hear me out for what we're dealing with. So back in 2020, when you were looking for a house, we looked for a year, and we chose Montclair, especially the estate section, specifically because of its sense of community, its beautiful historic homes, and preserved open feeling of neighborhood like this one. So in the first aerial view, what you see, is kind of our house. This, people have heard, talk about this space. This is not be used. This is our front space. We call this our backyard. You can see a little patio here, and we spend a lot of time in this space, even though it's paved. That's not it's a very private portion of our place that we use all the time. A few pictures to, this is where the kids play. We are a young family with an 8 and a 2.5-year-old. This home is just not a structure for us. We feel like you're supposed to feel calm, private, and at peace when we're, at our house and outdoor space. Because our property is a corner lot, we already have less privacy at the front and the side than many homes do. So what you see in the front and the side is all gates that we don't have any privacy currently. The back of our house is our family's main private outdoor space. It is where our children play, where we gather, where we enjoy peace and comfort in our home. The proposed worsening, in our opinion, it takes all that away from us. I'm going to just show you a few more pictures. This is again the backyard. We call it the backyard space. You'll see why in a second. As you can see in the front, that's the gate that just opens to Clinton Avenue. There's no privacy in that section. This is a little video. I don't know if it's going to show you so you can understand what this is from the garage inside. And this is a wooden fence line, and that's the one-story non-conforming addition that is existing currently. All that is open space that in the new plan is going to be filled in with, part of it 2.5-story. That's going to be directly looking at the space that our children play. This is how close this is already, that portion of it. And I can't imagine adding 18, however the architect said, linear, and then adding 2.5, stories on top of this, how it would affect us as a family. This is literally our backyard space. The front we don't use. I wanted to stress that. And I heard, one of the witnesses said it's just a few inches, or it's not. It's like a lot much more mass and bulk added to our home. Sorry, these are ignore those. But what I want to show you just pictures. Basically from our vantage view, what it looks like. I'm going to skip to the next one. This is again where this picture was taken a couple of days ago. This is what it looks like existing from that one-story addition and how close it is to our property. The other important thing is our indoor space. This, truly changes our daily life. Because in the indoor space, our children mostly spend their time in the kitchen and the family room. So this is the window, where you see here pointing to the green addition that I'm highlighting. This is where we spend most of our time. It's in the back here. It's only a 343 square feet, but I would say more than 90% of our kids' awake time is spent in that room. Where you can see at that window looking out, you can see the house, that one-story addition as it is right now. Again, imagining this going all the way to the side towards our garage and adding 2.5-story, I can't imagine how that would affect us. Not even talking about all the noises. Lastly, making this structure taller, wider, bulkier, it really will affect us both in our outdoor space and indoor space. It will make us less peaceful, uncomfortable. And this is, my opinion, this is precisely the kind of hardship the zoning rules and regulations are supposed to prevent for your fellow neighbor. For these reasons, we respectfully ask the board to deny this application as proposed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
I have no questions. I submit him to the board for question or cross-examination.
Sir, what do you look out your back window now?
This picture.
You see the house, don't you?
That's right. This is from one of the windows that's what we see. I put that picture to, represent this is the space we're living in.
See the house.
Part of it, this is a one-story, yes.
So if they do the addition, you'll see the house, correct? Yes, sir.
That's correct, of course. Yeah.
Do you know what your rear yard requirements are in your zone for the distance you're supposed to have between your house and your rear yard?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
Are you
do you know-
familiar with the specifics
Excuse
of
me,
the zone?
I'll take care of it, thanks. Are you familiar with the Montclair zoning code?
I'm not, I'm just a
Okay.
layperson when it
Well, you
comes to
talked
this.
about
Yeah.
setbacks here, so you're familiar with what a setback is?
I just use the language that was used, by the witnesses.
Do you know what a setback is?
That's the space is supposed to be from the house to the boundary between the neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know what the space is supposed to be from the rear of your house to your boundary?
I do not know the rules. I think it's at least 12 and 18 feet. I remember reading the papers in the that was presented, 12 and 18.
If I told you that Montclair Code Section 347-333 says you are supposed to have 30 feet from your house to the property line, or 30% of the depth of the lot, whichever is greater,
Mhm.
what would you say?
Does that say the same thing for the neighbor as well?
It says for
both properties,
the
right?
rear property line, you're supposed to have 30 feet from your house to the rear property line. You don't have 30 feet, do you?
It's pre-existing. We didn't choose, just like it is pre-existing for the other house. We're talking about new addition.
Sorry, you need to answer the question. The
Sure.
question is, do you know what the distance is from your house to the common property line in the rear yard?
I can try to pull it, sir. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I told you that not only does it has to be the greater of 30 feet or 30% of the lot depth, and 30% of your lot depth is 50 feet, that's how much space you're supposed to have between your house
Mhm.
and the property line, is 50 feet.
Okay.
Do you know how many feet you have?
It sounds it would be less than that.
It's out,
Yeah.
How wide is your driveway, do you know?
That, again, off not the top of my head, I don't know. It's more than, not sure.
Okay. Would you say from your house to the property line is approximately 20 feet?
Maybe.
Okay. If you had 50 feet like you're supposed to,
Mhm.
if you looked out the window, would the house look as close?
No. But when was this done? I mean,
I have no other questions.
I have no further questions for this witness.
So, sir, what would be your ideal situation for your neighbor? Just not to build at all, or would you prefer it to scale down?
for me, I have no problem, with them improving their life. I wish that for them. Okay, I have no problem with that at all. I just don't want it to be at the expense of our, living conditions.
But under these conditions and what's proposed, would you prefer for them not to build at all?
I don't know what to,
Can I ask a follow-up question?
No,
Would-
can the witness answer the question?
I really don't know how to answer this question.
Like, what would be your preferred outcome of this, that it just gets denied and they can't build? That's what
No,
you're-
no,
what
that's
you're
not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to protect our family and our living condition. That's all I'm trying to do here.
Would your preference be that they build out the back, as the architect testified was possible, but a detriment to the homeowner?
Yeah, that would be no problem. That would be completely fine, of course.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question for this witness? All right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClean.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr.
Let's open it up, if I could make a suggestion.
Yes.
We should open it up if there's, from the public, if there's any questions or statements, now would be the opportunity. When we complete that, we give Mr. Gilson an opportunity to close up, then Mr. Macera, and then we go to deliberation.
Okay. Thought we really covered some of those steps, but we'll do it again. Okay. All right. Are there any members of the public that have any questions or statements that you'd like to make? Okay. All right. Then, Mr. Gilson, do you have any final comments?
I'll just make a brief closing statement to parrot the words of the applicant's planner, it's an awkward situation with the neighbor. And it is our position that while the side yard setback, as a matter of where the smallest portion is, may only be a few inches, the real magnitude of this is incredibly great. You're talking about now you're going to have, instead of a small little one-story piece impacting the side yard setback, you're now going to have a 2.5-story addition that goes all the way back. We heard testimony from the applicant's architect that building out the back of this house was possible. The point of the zone code is to make sure that you don't create a negative impact to the surrounding neighborhood. It seems as if building in this area is most practical for the homeowner, but it creates a huge negative impact to my client's property. You know, I sympathize with the homeowner that the lot is undersized, but I don't think that the lot being undersized in and of itself necessitates creating more of an impact. I also understand that my client's property is impeding on the setback, but that's how they bought it, and like the existing nonconformity that exists, I don't think the answer to one existing nonconformity is to create another variance and nonconformity that just piles and piles on top of each other. I think that this has to be taken as a whole, and the architect testified that the applicant can create the same design, the same amount of space coming out the back of the house. They'll just lose natural light. I think that if someone's going to be impacted negatively by this application, it should be the applicant, not the next door homeowner. And for those reasons, I would ask that the board deny this application.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mancera?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. The applicant, I believe, through his experts, has proven the positive and the negative criteria for a C2 variance and a C1 variance. I don't need to go through them. This is a rather modest application, and the reason it doesn't sound modest is because there is one neighbor who is not happy with the application. But as we heard, as we saw through the neighbor's property, this is a neighborhood with constraints. And the constraints, we're doing the best we can with wanting to stay in Montclair, wanting to live in that area, in that neighborhood, but yet we're outgrowing our house. The constraints on the property next door, they don't meet the setbacks, they don't meet other criteria. Just like we don't meet those setbacks and we don't meet other criteria. Ours, however, is because of the restraints of the size of the property itself. Years and years ago, there was a subdivision. This smaller piece of property was what was left over. My clients purchased a house in 2012. They want to remain in Montclair. They are good neighbors. They are good for the neighborhood. They went to the HPC on their own. The property has not been designated. They sacrificed by going to the HPC because they made concessions. They lost approximately 600 square feet of their livable space because they want to be good neighbors. They want to build a house that build an addition that's aesthetically pleasing, that meets the character of the neighborhood. There's no detriment to the public good. There's no detriment whatsoever to the public good. As Mr. McClean had testified, the goals and objectives of Montclair's master plan, the one key that everybody heard, no demolition. This house could be demolished. They could build an ugly square, and they could build twice as much, I'm exaggerating, square feet than what they're proposing to do here. They've lived here. They want to remain here. The variances for the impervious coverage are de minimis. The location of the condenser units, we believe are proposed in the right place based on the configuration of the house and where the neighbor's house is, as you could see from those pictures. And with regard to the extension along the existing line, we have nowhere else to go. We can't feasibly go out back because of design characteristics. If they could and it was better, certainly the applicant would do it. And council mentioned they'll just lose natural light. Natural light is one of the goals contained in the municipal land use law, that people retain natural light, and that there's not situations where that is adversely impacted. This house, the way it is designed to be constructed, will be complementary. And as I said, I believe that the applicant has met its burden under both the C1 variance criteria and the C2 variance criteria. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll begin our discussion, then we'll begin with Ms. Grant.
I'll say that I understand the need to expand, and no one wants to move. You want to have your home, keep it, and have it accommodate your family and your family's growth. I also understand the concern from the neighbor on this. I'll say that the design of the addition is I don't see a big problem with it for their property, but I see the point of it from the neighbor's point of view.
Just to be clear, are you saying that you're generally in favor or generally opposed, or you're waiting to hear from your colleagues on the?
I'm generally opposed.
Thank you.
Opposed, did you say?
Yes. All right, Mr. Cruz?
And just so the record's clear, Mr. Cruz can certainly comment, but he's not eligible to vote.
Yes.
Yeah, hearing both sides of the argument, I can see the pros and cons. I was hoping to have a bit more of an understanding of the neighborly frustration. I think in the time I've been on the board, I think this is only the second time that someone's retained counsel for a neighborly dispute, and I wished perhaps I could have seen more compromise instead of an uncertainty.
Mr. Griffith?
I'm generally in favor with conditions. My conditions would be that the extension of the front extension by the limited side yard be coplanar, that the dimension not be changed necessarily unless it's a minimal change with regard to the relationship of the property line to the house. So if there's a minor dimensional difference, I don't care, as long as the house is coplanar and it is in essence, meeting the existing non-conforming setback with intent. I think the condensers need to be moved to the backyard. I suggest they be moved. I don't want the condensers within the existing non-conforming setback period. I don't think that's acceptable. I suggest that they be moved to the back where the porch is, and you just make the porch a little smaller and put them there. We've talked about the impervious coverage, and they've agreed to address it in a reasonable way, which is fine. That's it. One other observation is looking at this lot and comparing it to all the other lots on this block, it is the most narrow lot on the block. It is an oddly shaped lot, and it is small. That's it. Thanks.
All right. I'm gonna jump over you. Mr. Church?
We run into this problem a lot in town with narrow lots and trying to add additions to properties that were built on those lots conforming to regarding conditions at the time they were built. This area, the state area where this house is located, is very difficult. It's an extremely difficult area to expand in without variances. And I believe that I would hate to see somebody not be able to make their home big enough for their families to grow in, but you can't always have your everything you want in that area because of the narrowness of the lots and the odd shape of the lots. Therefore, I'm basically in favor of the application because I always have that thought in my mind that it can be done, but it has to be done with conditions. So I would go along with the conditions just cited by my colleague and any other conditions that would make it feasible to build on that lot and to allow the neighbor to have his peace of mind that he's not being pushed out or inconvenienced. Therefore, I would be voting in favor of it, but I want to hear the conditions with conditions, and I think the conditions have to be numerous.
Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also in favor of the application with some of the conditions that were mentioned. I think the applicant, the architect, has explained some of the thought process behind the design, and I can see that some of the design decisions were made considering the neighbor next door. And I think, yeah, it's unfortunate that it got to this point that, you know, we got to hear this here. However, I do want to point out that what Mr. Griffith said about the location of the condensing units, I would like to see it move closer to the deck patio in the back. That should be one of the conditions. The impervious coverage was not explained in depth, so I'm a little concerned of the addition. Stormwater will not essentially you'll not put stormwater into the neighbor's property, so that that has to be also considered. But other than that, I think I'll be in favor. Thank you.
Mr. Simon?
I'm generally in favor of the application. Although I'm sympathetic to the neighbor, I think the applicant went through several good faith measures to reduce the scope of the project and make amendments as suggested through the previous testimonies since the last session. So with the limitations provided, I think they did not take advantage of the variance process and really came up with as modest an addition that would work. So I'm generally in favor, in addition to the stormwater conditions. I believe you said that you would apply to whatever the engineer said. So I think the applicant is doing the best possible to comply and not have a negative impact. So I would be in favor.
All right. Thank you. So I do think that it's always in the interest of this board, but also of the community, always that neighbors have good relations, and so sometimes we find ourselves having to hear issues that make that very challenging. And clearly, this is one that is challenging. But there are certain realities that do exist, and one of them is essentially a pre-existing condition, which is the lot is what the lot is. Both lots, as a matter of fact, and they both have historical relevance, and so it does provide limitations in terms of what may be possible. And I think there was exploration in terms of the possibility of putting the addition on the back of the house, and whether or not that was a situation that could be redeemable in this case. But the argument is that in order to do that, that it would not contribute to the value of the property, but it actually might detract from the value of the property. And that I think is something that would be a negative impact on not only this property, but the community itself. And so I am also generally in favor of this application. The conditions that have been mentioned, that the condensers would be placed on the in the area that is proposed for the deck, and so that they would be sufficiently shielded from the neighbor. It's the storm that you would meet the conditions of the stormwater runoff, so that it would have no negative impact on the neighbors, and then that you would meet the existing non-conforming setback. That those I think
That's with the condensers, right? Is that what you're talking about, with the condensers?
I believe the house. I think that's what
Mr. Griffin, you proposed that,
proposing
so-
now.
And the condensers.
Both
Yes,
of
it was
the-
both, but
Yes.
yes.
The point of the house.
than what is violated now.
Correct.
Yeah, existing non-conforming is acceptable. Violating the existing non-conforming is not acceptable.
And that's with respect to the addition and the condensers.
Correct.
So that's a 12-foot setback that they'll comply with.
Sorry?
It's a 12-foot setback for the accessory structure.
No.
No, we had to carry
What? Yes.
No, we're talking about the 5.61.
Oh, to maintain the existing.
Oh, straight back.
Existing non-conforming
Right.
Right.
setback current.
And Mr. McCulloch, is there any additional screening requirements?
Yeah. Yes. So I also want to suggest that, given the nature of the perimeter of the property, that to the neighbor, that there be additional vegetation to be planted along the length of the, I think it's the wooden fence. You have a metal fence and a wooden fence. So I think on the wooden fence, the length from the front of what is the existing study, I think? Is that what it is? Yes. Okay, and then going all the way back to the deck area. However, whatever vegetation you plant, that it will not encroach upon the neighbor's property, so it will contribute to the privacy of the neighbor. And that whatever vegetation you plant will be consistent with the requirements of the township. Yes.
And you're asking for evergreens, correct?
Yes.
And also subject to review and approval by the township arborist, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Chairman, I just had one clarification question about what Mr. Griffin had said. That wouldn't matter for a few like you're not worried about a few inches, because the property line is not perfectly straight.
Understood. So that was understood. I struggled to try and say that if the property line is not straight, I don't care that much. If what I want is the side of the building to be coplanar and straight, so that it looks like it's part of the original construction, and if it's 5.6 in the front and 5.4 in the back, I consider that consistent with the intent of the zoning regulations and what our previous acts have been.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, I agree and understand that point.
Okay. With all of that said, is there anything else?
No, just somebody needs to make a
All right,
motion
is
to
there,
that
is there a
effect.
motion with the, for the approval with the conditions as stated?
I would make a motion to approve with the conditions that have been stated.
And we also have our two standard conditions that are, forgive me, that the applicant's bound by all representations made during the course of the public hearings, and that the applicant's responsible for all inspection fees incurred under Montclair Code Section 202-27, as well as escrow fees incurred in connection with review of this matter.
Second.
Okay, all in favor that are eligible to vote, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, so it looks like that was 5 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. Is that correct?
Yes. Right. It is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Okay.
Who's up next?
No, we're going to 120. So we're going to move very quickly to 120 Watchung Avenue. It's a continuation of the hearing to convert Auto Base to a convenience store. And thank you. We'll call him Mr. Trembulac as soon as she gets settled. And then we'll- Okay. Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alan Trembulac appearing on behalf of the applicants, Jernail, Singh, and Novdeep, Singh, Sandu. So this is a continued hearing on the site plan application to convert the, give me 1 second. No, I apologize. I seem to have lost my notes, but I think I know what the application is. As you know, it's an application for a D1 use variance and site plan approval to convert the automobile repair service station at 120 Watchung Avenue to a convenience store and to retain the existing gasoline fueling pumps. We've basically completed our presentation with the exception of providing testimony this evening from our traffic engineer, Elizabeth Dolan, regarding the supplemental report that she provided to the board following her original testimony on this application. And then, that should be relatively brief. At that point, our presentation would be concluded and we would hope that we would proceed with public comment and the board's deliberation and decision on the application. So having said that, I would recall Elizabeth Dolan.
Ms. Dolan, you were previously sworn in. You understand you're still under oath.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and let's just limit the testimony to the supplemental traffic report.
Right, got it.
That's
Okay.
That's the intent. So, right. So, following your testimony in early March, your office performed some additional traffic counts for this application?
Yes,
correct?
yes, we did. So the information is summarized in our letter dated March 19, 2026. It was based on the proceedings of the March 4 zoning board meeting, as well as Neglia's original, well, I don't know that it was their original, but their December 18, 2025 review. So the first item that was provided was to address Neglia's request to analyze the existing driveway volumes as counted before the traffic signal was installed. So there were lefts into and out of the Watchung Avenue driveway at that time. With the installation of the signal, signage has been included to prohibit the lefts. We provided the calculations, level of service C, exiting Watchung Avenue during the morning peak hour, level of service B, exiting during the evening peak hour on Watchung Avenue, and level of service B, exiting during both the morning and evening peak hours on the Park Street driveway.
There was also a request, I think primarily from the board, about Saturday traffic volumes. So we did perform updated or additional counts at the site driveways, and I will say that there is a typo in the appended tables. Saturday, March 14, 2026, the counts were performed from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at both driveways. The tables say March 15th. That is a typo. The counts were done on Saturday, March 14th. We isolated the peak hour as being 11:30 to 12:30, and we provided a table and then also a volume figure, and showed that the volumes were pretty much comparable to the evening peak hour volumes, and so the that was the additional data collection that had been requested to make sure that there wasn't a spike in Saturday volumes that was outside of the volumes we recorded during the weekday morning and evening peak commuter or morning school peak hour. The additional turning templates were requested. Neglia had requested the SU-30 single unit design vehicle, which is representative of a garbage truck. We provided that. There was a discussion at the hearing about the garbage truck backing in from Park Street. We provided that. There was discussion and testimony from the applicant that the tanker comes in weekday evenings off of Watchung Avenue, but someone in the public comment portion or question portion of the hearing had identified at some point a tanker entering from Park Street, so we provided that template as well. So that was a supplemental information that has been submitted and summarized in the March 19, 2026 traffic letter.
All right, and that report was reviewed by Neglia, and a updated engineering memo was provided, which I think is dated March 20.
March 25, 2026, and revision number 3 to their reviews.
Okay, and there were some comments I'd like you to address that in the section of that March 25th Neglia report under the heading traffic comments, I believe. And you can begin with comment 6.5.A, which is at the bottom of page 4.
Sure. That is 6.5.A. Neglia is stating that, you know, this is showing the garbage truck entering from Watchung Avenue via right turn and exiting to Park Street via left turn out. However, as currently illustrated, this maneuver will require the SU-30 truck to encroach in parking space number 3. Applicant shall provide testimony about the impacts to parking space 3. The applicant had testified that the garbage pickup is by a private hauler, typically once a week, sometimes twice a week. So we would expect that because it's private hauler, it will be coming off peak when the parking demands are not high, and they could either cone off that space perhaps if they felt that that was going to be a problem, or work with their hauler to have the pickup at a later time. But I think that the fact that it's a that's a private hauler, they could work with that hauler and possibly even sometimes they have smaller trucks. So I think that that's an operational issue that can be accommodated. So that was 6.5.A. 6.5.B talks about the garbage truck backing into the site, and that was something that we wanted to make sure that could be accommodated. I think the preference is for the truck to come in forward, but we did, show that that was possible. Neglia's opinion is that they would prefer the truck to not back into the site. Comment 6.5.C shows the tanker entering from Park Street, and they say, as illustrated, it would appear that the movements will impact the northeast corner of the pump, located by spaces 6 and 8, as well as the bollards in front of the relocated air pump and vacuum machines. The applicant shall provide testimony addressing same. I think the testimony you heard from the applicant is that the normal and routine operation of the gas delivery is the tanker coming in from Watchung, and we wouldn't expect, based on truck routing, and if you look at different, Google Maps and so forth, it doesn't make sense for a truck to come from Park. So maybe a different driver, a new driver, somebody got somehow lost, I don't know. But we did that to satisfy the question from the public. So we're at 6.5.d.
Right.
Applicant shall provide testimony confirming that adequate clearance is available for the WB50, that's the gas tanker, to clear the canopy. And I would just point out that it's an existing operating gas station. The canopy's there, the pump islands are there, the underground storage tanks are there, the building is there, and all of those features are going to remain. So the deliveries have been successful for several decades. The new canopy, since this applicant bought the property, is not obstructing the deliveries, so there'd be no reason for those delivery trucks to have any problem in the future. Those features are all remaining the same.
Okay, and there were two additional comments from Neglia in section 6.8, I think subparagraphs E and F.
Right, there's 6.8E, and that's, they said about the Saturday counts, our report says March 15th, and as I said a few minutes ago, it was Saturday, March 14th. So that was a typo on our, an error on our part. And then they stated in 6.8.f that we did not provide a level of service analysis for either the existing or future Saturday peak hour volumes. They did an analysis and calculated level of service C coming out of the driveway, both driveways, and that is consistent with the analyses that we had done in our original report for the morning and evening peak hours, and that report was November 3, 2025.
So you would accept Neglia's conclusion?
Yes,
regarding
it's
level of
consistent with our analyses,
and
yes.
level of service C, is that considered acceptable?
Yes,
or
it is. That's
satisfactory?
the middle of the scale, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We'll begin with Mr. Simon.
Just point of clarification, you said for the garbage truck, what's the preferred path? In through Watchung, out through Park?
I believe that's the likely route. We had talked about a couple of different routings at the last hearing, March 4th, I think that was. And Neglia had said they would prefer not to have the garbage truck back in.
So in through Watchung, out through Park?
Yes.
And for the fuel truck, it's?
Same thing. In from Watchung, out to Park.
So can a tanker truck make that sharp turn? Wouldn't it have to swing wide to make it into the?
Well, let me just go back to the exhibits. We showed that the tanker can do that. They may take a little bit more room on the Watchung Avenue approach, but that is, again, it's an existing movement that's being made, and it's being made now that the county improvements have been installed at the intersection.
So that's the current path that it's
Yes.
taking now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Church?
Yeah, I had a question concerning the delivery of goods that they sell, potato chips and so forth. How big a truck is that comes into that lot now? Because now you're going to have additional trucking coming in. Are they step vans, or they're not trailer trucks?
They would be no bigger than the WB50, the tanker truck. I don't know for certain, but if they have the consolidated delivery that many gas stations and convenience stores have, it'll be a WB40 or WB50.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you clarify, so you made a comment about space number 3 being obstructed, and I didn't catch if it was the garbage truck or was it the WB50?
So that comment was made pertaining to the garbage truck, and space number 3 is the one that's in closest to the building. I guess it would be northeast of the fueling area.
Okay, and so your, I guess your comment was that is an operational issue, so that they will have to coordinate with the.
If necessary. I mean, sometimes you're at a gas station and you see they've coned off, one side of a fuel island, and sometimes it's because there's, it's a lot of pumps and they don't need them because it's a quiet time. But I have seen in some gas stations, when they're expecting a delivery, they'll cone off a certain area so that the any incoming vehicles don't have to, or basically so that the incoming truck doesn't have to wait for those vehicles to leave. So that it is an operational issue.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you know how long it takes to load the garbage?
Oh, the garbage?
Yeah.
I don't think it takes very long. A minute
Don't
or
want-
two, I'm
Okay,
thinking
I don't want
about-
you to throw a number out randomly.
Yeah.
Just was curious if you knew how long that space would be occupied
It's
for.
a lot shorter than the fueling operation.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Grant?
I have one question. I believe this is a convenience store with a gas station.
Yes.
Okay, that was.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, good evening.
Hi.
Just a few questions. First, I forget, what's the difference between a 500 and a 600 county road? No, because I know in terms of like the traversability, because I'm just, in terms of like the trucking thing, I'd imagine that the natural path would be Garden State Parkway, Watchung Ave to the gas station, but maybe some people would do like Valley Road, and I was wondering in terms of,
Unless there's a weight limit posted, there's I don't think a difference in terms of the county route. But the
Okay.
county routes typically accommodate those. It's usually the local streets, like Park Street.
Right.
You would expect maybe a street more like that, a more local street to have a weight restriction, or sometimes where there's a potential cut-through route, and they don't want the trucks, but it would be a weight restriction, not a county route designation.
okay, gotcha. And then when it comes to some of the ITE formulas and stuff, those are all like mostly like empirical. Like in terms of like a lot of testing was done, and based on that testing, they came up with certain determinations for.
Well, that was the testimony from the last hearing, from the traffic study with the projections that we had made for the driveway volumes. That's where the ITE data came into play.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, as far as the spaces in the gas like station area, do those spaces have to be ADA like in terms of like having like some type of like ADA access to make it to the shop, or not?
I think the architect probably covered that. I think we have one ADA space on site, so that wasn't my design. That would have been the architect's design.
Okay.
But there is that one space on site.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Griffith?
I have no questions.
All right, Ms. Dolan, thank you for coming back. Appreciate
You're
that. Just a question about the tanker itself. So my understanding from what you shared with us, the tanker has the option of entering, well, it has to enter from Watchung. And it can exit onto Park Street, or could it back out onto Watchung?
I wouldn't think that would be an appropriate
You wouldn't
maneuver.
advise
No.
that, but
We did show that it could come in from Park and exit to Watchung based on the concern from one of the residents at the last meeting.
Okay.
But the existing path is coming in from Watchung and exiting to Park.
All right. And then, do you know if the county, or is it your sense that when the county did its analysis and made the decision to install traffic lights, did it take into consideration the movement of tankers and the impact on the traffic?
Well, I think that they would have included the design vehicles that would go through the intersection. So at the last hearing, we talked about school activities, school buses. There's certainly delivery trucks to the existing businesses in the area. So in laying out the lane configuration, they would have made sure that the turning movements of a WB50, probably the largest vehicle that would traverse the intersection, could be accommodated. That would have been part of the county's layout of the striping for the intersection.
And when you did the traffic study, did you, by any chance, happen to be there at a time when a tanker was?
No, I tried.
Okay. All right. Just the reason why I asked the question is because, because there is a traffic light there, And it's been mentioned, of course, that there is a lot of traffic on Park Street because of probably more in there, frankly, than Watchung, because of the nature of that traffic light. And I just wondered how difficult would it be for a tanker to be able to get onto Park Street, given the fact that there might be space for only maybe one or two cars that are sitting at a traffic light.
Yeah, right, that's a good point, but the applicant did testify that those deliveries are typically around 9 p.m., one or two times per week. So
Correct.
it's an off-peak delivery, which is certainly beneficial for the intersection.
And so your assessment is that there would be relatively low traffic and therefore low impact?
At the time the tanker is there, yes.
Okay.
And I did speak with the consultant who worked with the county on that design, and he certainly had been there, and they were well aware of the operating gas station at the corner.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. Then are there members of the public that have questions for this witness?
Mr. Tremblay, you have no further witnesses, correct?
That's correct.
So we could do questions or statements if you like.
Questions or statements? Yes, you're most welcome.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I, Claire Ciliata, 279 Park Street, do so. I'm not quite sure how to go about this, but I need to talk about character, and I need to first find out, may I ask Mr. Tremulak, Mr. Singh's date of birth?
Why is that relevant?
I tell you why it's relevant, okay? In my research on Mr. Singh, it appears, and again, I don't have total confirmation, that in 2020, he was in the District Court of the County of Suffolk, New York. This Mr. Jernail Singh lived at 5100 Northern Boulevard, Glen Head, New York, which I think is the address that he gave us the last time that he was here. So I'm assuming he's the same person. This person, if it is him, was convicted of gross labor law violations. He was convicted of false instrument for filing in the first degree in violation of the state penal law, lying on things. If this is this person, then it's very hard for me to believe that we are doing a good thing here. And I'm not sure that I would want someone who did that and was convicted running a business in my neighborhood. Also, after I read this, I thought a lot about, remember the restaurant up on Valley that secretly had all those Chinese people living on the second floor? There was a stabbing, yeah, I remember that too. I just feel like somebody who says that they're going to come and separate garbage themselves, who owns 9 gas stations, who lives in Glen Head, which is about 2 hours from here, is going to come here. And last time he was here, he said that. He said, when you all asked him who's going to separate the garbage, he said he was going to do it. And I'm like, really? How is that? That you, this man who owns 9 gas stations in New York, who paid $4.2 million for the last gas station, who lives in a $2 million house, you're going to come here to separate garbage. So help me understand what to do with this, if this is true.
Okay, so I'd like to just interrupt you for a second and ask the council, is it...
Look, I think the member of the public can articulate her concern, which you have.
Okay.
And then I think you should move on to the next point.
All right,
Oh,
but I do want to say that that is really, really concerning to me.
Thank you.
Period.
Can I ask you one question? When was that supposedly criminal, what was the date of that?
That was 2020.
Okay, all right, and that's the only thing you found, right, since you researched him?
There's more, but
And
this
you don't know for
research-
sure
this-
whether
this
it's my
research
client?
is 90% confirmed.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
So,
Yes.
So if Mr. Singh was to sell the property to somebody with a clean record, would you have a problem with the project in and of itself?
My concern is for workers.
I asked a specific
Okay,
question. If he was to
and-
sell it to somebody else,
If that someone else is good, it's not a problem for me.
so you don't have a problem with the project itself?
No, I have a
Okay.
problem,
That's it. That's all I needed. Thank you.
okay? Thank you.
Are there other members of the public that have questions or statements they'd like to make?
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
Yes.
State your name and address.
Donna Pickett, 255 Park Street, Montclair.
Ms. Pickett, is the green light lit on your?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
My voice is
Thank you.
I have
Mhm.
allergies. Okay. So I just wanted to make this clear. So the tanker trucks are coming at 9 PM?
That's what the applicant had testified, 9 to 9:30 typically.
Okay, all right, because that's when he said he would be closing. Okay. And then the garbage trucks will come in the AM?
I
Do we
believe
know?
it was 5:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock PM weekdays.
That's good, yeah, because I think the code is after 5, right? After 5 for garbage trucks in Montclair. And the delivery trucks, I had heard, I just want to confirm, that's once a week. I believe that's what Mr. Singh said at the
Yes.
last meeting or the meeting
I believe
before.
that's what he said also. It's
Yes.
one delivery truck,
One
once a
delivery.
week.
Okay, and do we know the date and time of that once a week? Is that
I think it varies. It's not, I don't think it's a specific time on the same day, at the same time each week. But it's one truck, one delivery.
Okay, and then, so deliveries to, there's going to be an office on the second floor. Besides this delivery truck delivering goods to the convenience store, would there be any deliveries to the office, FedEx trucks, Amazon trucks, UPS trucks?
If I can answer that based upon the
let's-
testimony.
Perhaps, I mean, you can reiterate the testimony,
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
The second floor office is going to be utilized by this business, and the people who, the people occupying the second floor office will be the couple of employees that work in this business. That's not going to be, and we've already stipulated that second floor office could not be rented out at any time to a third party unassociated, anyone unaffiliated with this business. It's not meant to provide a separate office for a third party business of any kind. It's just to provide a little more room and an office and some storage for the convenience store. So there wouldn't be any, to answer your question about deliveries, there would not be any additional deliveries related to the second floor.
Okay, and then, this is my last question. So just repeat for me. So you went back and you did the Saturday counts. Did you do any other days? Because when you first did your study, tell me what you did. I think you did weekdays. You did.
Right, we did weekday morning and evening.
Evening.
And at the last hearing, the board specifically requested, at the last hearing, the board requested Saturday counts, so we performed those on Saturday, March 14, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay, so, and just remind me again, so 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., what was your analysis on a Saturday, because it's pretty busy there?
The peak hour, as I testified earlier, was found to be 11:30 to 12:30, and the volumes were found to be comparable to the evening peak hour volumes. We did not do any further analyses, but Neglia did. Their analyses were consistent with our results for the AM and PM weekday peak hours.
And then just remind me, so your study, the first study, and then when you went back to do Saturday, did that cover like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Did it cover school year, summer, holiday, peak times? Or did you just do Saturday, 10 to 3 p.m., and then your original was the weekday count?
Yeah, the weekday counts were performed when school was in session. That was summarized in the original report.
Okay.
And then we were asked to do a Saturday, which, you know, we did a typical Saturday with clear weather, and we studied several hours, which is more than we typically study for retail use.
And did you do holiday peaks?
No.
And, okay, so you didn't do holiday peaks. I had another question, I just lost the train of thought. Summer holiday peaks, all right, I just lost that train of thought. Oh, the light. So you did your analysis after the light, right? Before the light or after the light or both?
The original traffic counts were performed back in June, and that was before the light was installed and operating. The original traffic impact study analyzed the driveways with the now current condition that prohibits lefts into and out of the Watchung Avenue driveway.
Say that again. So with the light, what days did you do? And time frame, what'd you span?
That's not how it works. The original counts were performed during a weekday morning and weekday evening, 7 to 9 and 4 to 7 p.m. The analysis was, we took the volumes that were counted at the driveways and we rerouted the lefts because the lefts are no longer permitted, and then we analyzed the driveways. The subsequent counts were done in March when the light was operating.
And did you do the studies with the right turn only sign?
That's what I just said. The analysis was performed without the lefts entering and exiting on Watchung because they are now prohibited.
Okay. And when did you do that? Did you do that at peak times as well?
I think this all goes back to the testimony from the last hearing, but yes, in the traffic impact analysis, we counted the morning and evening peak periods. We isolated the morning and evening peak hour traffic volumes. We analyzed the site driveways, full movement on Park, right in, right out on Watchung. That was all contained in the November 2025 traffic and parking study that was submitted and testified to at the last hearing I attended, which was in March 4th, I believe.
Okay. Then just as the last question, so what's your overall summary and assessment of the in and outs of that property that you performed when you did your analysis? What's your overall summary?
The summary, as concluded in our traffic and parking study from November 2025 and our letter from March 2026 and the Neglia March 2026 letter, is that the driveways will operate at acceptable levels of service in the B and C range, which is acceptable for peak hour conditions. That's an acceptable level of service.
All right, thank you very much.
That's
Thank
it,
you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Pickett, before you go, I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to make a statement if you choose to do so. I'm not suggesting you must, but this is your opportunity to say something other than ask questions if you choose to.
Okay, so I could do my 3-minute thing? Or a statement?
You can make a statement if you choose to do so.
Okay, hold on. Thank you. I have that somewhere here, my statement. I thought I did. Unless I left it back there. Can I just go back there and look real quick for my statement? I do have an overall statement. Okay. So I just wanted to say that we all know that, first and foremost, that this is well documented that this intersection is Montclair's, like most accident-prone locations. There's multiple crashes that have been reported annually, including 19 in 2019, involving 2 pedestrians. 13 accidents in 2020, 10 accidents in 2021, and several in 2022. I also just wanted to say that I feel that having a convenience store there is going to contribute to increased crime. And we know that convenience stores are a late night, like hangout. I know that it's closing at 9 o'clock, sometimes at 9:30. That's a concern. We know that convenience stores create theft, vandalism, and disturbances, so that's a concern that I have. And I know we're trying to improve the neighborhood, but beautification is something that's low on the totem pole here. When we're talking about that area and a convenience store, I think it's just going to be a detriment for our community. And I would strongly deny this with the traffic. I live there. Traffic is backed up to Gordonhurst. There's lots of trucks in that area, lots of pedestrians. I think that this is a very bad decision for Montclair, for Watchung Plaza, and for our pedestrians. And I also think that for the environment, that the garbage on the streets from the convenience stores, the kids hanging out there, it's just it's not a good idea in all sense of the ways. I live there, so do my neighbors. You can do all the traffic studies you want, ask all the questions you want, but we know what convenience stores bring, and we have enough convenience stores in Montclair. We do not need a convenience store there. You have convenience stores. You want a soda, you go to Rosario's. You want a bagel, you go to the bagel store. You want a slice of pizza, you go there. You need a flashlight, you go to Roy's. So no, we do not need a convenience store with people going in there buying cigarettes and vapes, which are bad for you. We do not need it. I don't need more litter on the streets. I have a neighbor who walks down Park Street and picks up the garbage all the time. Number one, the traffic is bad. Number two, a convenience store we just don't need, and it will create crime. It'll create people just hanging around there. Garbage is bad. It's just all around bad, and you all know it. It's just not a good idea. Not one expert can say that this is a great idea. Not one.
Well, we've had several that have said that, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just one question. You recited some statistics regarding accidents at the intersection there, which I think the latest date that you provided was 2022. Am I correct that all of those accidents occurred before the traffic light was installed?
Yes.
Okay, and that's one of the reasons the traffic light was installed.
Which was a bad decision, in my opinion. I think it's worse.
To install the traffic light?
Yes. The engineer of Essex County, I spoke to him. It's in the town plan, page 30. They did a study. The engineer told me that they told Montclair for 7 years they did a study, and a light is not warranted at that intersection. I don't know how that light got there. I went to the director of the traffic director's meeting, and I asked him, I want to know what the process was of how we got that light and what the process is to improve that area. There have been accidents. I have witnessed near accidents after that light. Traffic is backed up on Park Street. I see it every day. Coming in and out of that gas station, more traffic is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare, and we all know it. And even the architecture of the building.
Okay,
I mean,
I just asked you a question about.
I know.
I think we got
Okay.
that point. Thank you.
All right, I can go on.
All right, there are other members of the public that have a question or a statement? Yes.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
Yes, I do.
State your name and address.
Richard D. Fabrizio, 273 Park Street. I, as well as my neighbors, live on the one street, Park, which is a residential street that feeds into the intersection. And I'd like to speak about what's happened since the traffic light was put in. Of course, everybody says must be a good thing. It's a traffic light. It's going to help alleviate the dangerous situation that we had. Unfortunately, it's become much, much worse. And I can give you a quick analogy. Everybody knows Fullerton and Bloomfield and Church. It's not, there's no right-hand turns. Imagine putting a traditional on-off alternating light system there. It'd be gridlock. Well, somehow, the traffic study that was done before the lights were put in, I guess, recommended a traditional on-off light, and it's not working. Everybody kind of freezes when the light changes because they don't know which is the opposing street. Bottom line, Saturdays and Sundays, and yes, during commuter mornings, traffic is backed up at least a block to a block away. If we put more traffic into this intersection, it'll now be backed up more than a block. So if you know the streets, Park goes to Gordonhurst. If it goes past Gordonhurst, now Gordonhurst feeds will be stopped. I would love a new building there. It'd be amazing. It's an ugly building. It's not in use. I can't conceive of how that intersection, regardless of what the traffic studies say, they always seem to support the position of whoever hired them. It's going to be an absolute gridlock disaster. Until the county, which I understand is the only one who can improve the situation, does something, right-hand turns only, delayed greens, one-ways, I don't know. But until that happens, there's no way you can increase the traffic going into that intersection without causing a gridlock more than one block that it already is. So if you have any discretion to stop this from becoming a disaster, I beg you, please strongly consider it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And your service.
Thank you.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth in the matter pending before the board?
I do.
State your name and address.
Gerald Fears, 259 Park Street. So I was hit by a car turning off of Park onto Watchung just a couple of months ago. And it was because it was a high school kid going back after lunch. We've had lots of stories about traffic, but let's talk about the traffic of the high school at lunch when they all come down there. Let's talk about what a convenience store sells: vapes, cigarettes, candy. Have you ever been to the CVS when Mount Hebron lets out? And that's what's going to be going on at 2:30. And when cars are pulling in, scooters. We have scooters right now that are that are coming in and out of that part of that gas station. Facts are facts. This was a 1932 gas station. Over the years, the board permitted upgrades, but in 1970, it turned down a convenience store. Why? Because of traffic. It turned down a drive-in bank. Why? Because of traffic. It's only gotten worse. Let's face it. And I know Paul, the crossing guard, and I believe he told me that he sent you all letters. He is sure that when somebody comes out and turns...
Hold on. We can't listen to what Paul might
Oh,
say to
okay.
you.
But I can tell you
And he
that
didn't
what
send
I
any
can see,
letters.
what I can see is somebody coming out, turning right onto Watchung, and just as kids going to school are crossing in the crosswalk, which is how I was hit. Or what will happen is they'll turn right, and then they'll turn right again onto Park because it's a green light, and somebody will be crossing at the corner of Park, which is how I was hit. This is going to be what happens. It is not 2020 when the last accident happened. There was a woman with her carriage. There were other accidents that have happened recently. Everybody knows it. It's one of the worst intersections in Montclair. And while I would be happy to have everything improved, I think a convenience store, which will be filled with kids coming in, where there are only, I believe, 5 parking spots, 2 of which are at the gas pumps. People are going to pull in, they'll double park. They'll be pushing, rushing off at 8 o'clock when Park Street is backed up, trying to get out. It's going to be a mess. And that's my comment.
So may I ask you a question?
Sure.
So would you say that if this service station renovated its service bays and did auto repair, that would be a better alternative than having a convenience store?
Well, I see auto repair happening there every day.
Mm-hmm. But that's not part of the proposal moving forward. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's not part of the proposal.
one or the other.
But what I'm saying is, I see cars in those garages every day being worked on, every morning when I walk the dog.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a gas station. And I fully appreciate how Mr. Singh has upgraded the gas station, and I fully appreciate the design that they proposed. But I can't appreciate a convenience store, especially because I'm not speaking about cars, I'm speaking about kids. Kids on bikes, kids on scooters. And I see it on Valley Road at CVS. That's what'll happen. And I see it at lunchtime when the high school kids come over.
Thank you. All right, are there other members of the public that have questions or statements? All right. Thank you, Ms. Dolan. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes, we're going to move towards closing statements, so is there something that you would like to say?
No, I was prepared
Okay.
to make
Okay.
a closing statement.
Okay.
The only thing I would say before that is to just correct what Mr. Fierce just said. You have in the planning memorandum, you have a list of all the applications involving this property. There has never been an application for a convenience store for this property that was voted on by this board and denied. Just want to make
By the
that
zoning board or the planning board? Is that zoning, are you speaking specifically about the zoning board, or are you speaking about planning and zoning? Just so there's clarification on that.
planning and zoning.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I have a list in the planning memo, yeah.
All right.
So, first of all, I want to thank the board on behalf of my clients for the time and attention, you've given to this application, as you do with all applications. In its simplest terms, what we're trying to do here, or what this application proposes, is to replace an old, outdated, unused, unsightly, non-conforming automobile repair facility with a new convenience store, which, if not for the existence of the pumps, would be is a permitted use in the neighborhood commercial zone. So let me just explain that for a minute. The site currently has two uses, both of which are non-conforming. You have the non-conforming gasoline fueling pumps, which, although non-conforming, have been there for almost 100 years. It was approved in 1931 and has been there continuously. Gasoline fueling or pump stations are not permitted anywhere in the town of Montclair. The second non-conforming use that exists there is the automobile repair service station, which is, again, non-conforming, not permitted anywhere in the town except for in the C2 zoning district. So, we're proposing to eliminate one of those non-conforming uses and replace it with the use that is permitted in the neighborhood commercial zoning district. It's a retail use. It's a convenience store is a retail use. And although this application requires a D1 use variance, it was pointed out by Mr. Steck, and I think your board attorney, confirmed this is not a classic or a typical D1 use variance where we're seeking to introduce a non-permitted use. It's really a permitted use. Retail facilities are permitted, But because of the existence of the gasoline fueling pumps, which we propose to retain, that triggers basically a technical, D1 use variance. But, to say that another way, and I think it's for the board, to take this into consideration. Again, we only need the use variance because we're proposing to retain the fueling pumps. If we were to eliminate the fueling pumps and eliminate the repair facility and just put a convenience store there, that would be a permitted use. Wouldn't be before this board. It would be permitted, and you could put a much larger convenience store on this location. I mean, just think about it. We're not proposing this, but I think it's important for the board to realize that this would be permitted to happen there. You could put a 7-Eleven or a Quick Check there, a larger one with more activity than what's going to be generated here, if the fueling pumps were eliminated. It's only the fueling pumps that trigger, the D1 variance. And of course, what we're doing in proposing to retain the pumps and add a convenience store is what's been done throughout the state of New Jersey and elsewhere, I'm sure, for quite some time now. It's an established trend as automobile service stations are really a dying breed as more and more people convert to electric vehicles. More and more people take their cars to dealerships to have work done rather than going to service stations. And also, there's fewer and fewer qualified mechanics available. And you see a lot of abandoned, service stations all over the state. So you have this established trend that's a recognized trend. In fact, as Ms. Dolan pointed out earlier in her testimony, she's testified on, I think she said, over 100 of applications similar to this. And that has become so common that the ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, actually has a separate category of use for combination convenience store gasoline fueling station. In Montclair alone, I believe there's 5 what I would call major or name brand gas stations in the township of Montclair, and this being one of the 5. 2 of the other 4 stations have convenience stores. You have the Exxon station at the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Elm Street. You have the Shell station at the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Pine Street. So if this application was approved, it would be consistent with those 2 existing. You'd have 3 of the 5 stations in town that would have convenience stores associated with them. So focusing then on the criteria for granting a D1 use variance, as Mr. Steck, our professional planner, testified, this application, we believe, satisfies the positive and negative criteria that are required. First of all, the application promotes the general welfare of the community by removing this, again, outdated, unused, unsightly, non-conforming use, replaces it with a use that's actually encouraged or permitted in the neighborhood commercial zone district. It also, really does fulfill a need. I'm not suggesting this is an inherently beneficial use, but it's certainly a beneficial use because, there are no convenience stores any longer in Watchung Plaza. So there's a need for a store. Maybe you can get a bagel, maybe you can get a slice of pizza at existing locations there, but where do you get a quart of milk or a dozen eggs? Nowhere in Watchung Plaza currently. So again, you've got an unused service station or repair station, and we're looking to replace it with something which would actually benefit the Watchung Plaza Business District and the community beyond that. In addition to promoting general welfare, the use also promotes purposes of zoning by providing adequate light, air, and open space, provides sufficient space in an appropriate location for a variety of uses. And lastly, and I think this is really a very key benefit here, it promotes a desirable visual environment. We've got, listen, before my client bought this station, this was a neglected piece of property. The prior owner did very little to improve the property, did nothing to improve the property really for many, many years. Since my client bought it, you've got bright new canopy, new gasoline pumps, you've got name brand gasoline. There's been a noticeable improvement to this site. And my client, as you've heard him say, wants to improve it more. And, we're looking to replace this pretty ugly, repair facility with a new, fresh brick building. Looks great in my mind and really livens up. This is a sort of the centerpiece, if you will, of Watchung Plaza. Not only, providing this bright new building, but he's going beyond that, and proposing to create this nice little masonry wall right at the corner of where Park Street and Watchung Plaza meet, with a sign on it that tells you you're at Watchung Plaza. So right now, you're entering Watchung Plaza from underneath the railroad station coming from the west. The intersection, interestingly, sort of points you right at this property. And what are you looking at now? You're looking at an air pump and a vacuum cleaner machine. And we're proposing to eliminate that. You'll have a nice wall, which also provides a little bit of screening, actually, from the gas station, and also just providing, a visually attractive entrance, if you will, or into the business district. And there are also other, various other improvements that we're proposing as part of this application, including improved safety measures. We've heard a lot of concerns about safety. Well, there's very little we can do to, fix any issues with regard to the traffic signal or deal with other, issues that are really more for either the county or the municipality to address if they exist. There are measures that can be taken, but what we're doing with respect to our property in terms of improvements, particularly with safety, we're adding pedestrian walkways, we're adding bike racks, we're providing new lighting, we're providing a significant amount of new landscaping. We're also reducing the width of what are currently very wide curb cuts on both Park Street and Watchung Avenue. All designed for safety and generally improving the site. And then, again, referring to the D1 positive criteria, we're also required to show that the site is suitable for this use. And as Mr. Steck noted, first of all, it's clearly suitable because, first of all, we've got a gas station that's there, it's going to remain there. It's been there for 100 years. Obviously, it's a suitable location, and the retail use is also suitable. This is right in the heart of the business district. There's a lot of openness to this space, so a lot of light and air. We're not packing it with a large building. We meet the positive criteria. As far as the negative criteria, I think we've demonstrated from the testimony of expert witnesses that there would be no substantial detriment to the public good resulting from granting this variance. Again, it bears repeating, I keep emphasizing this, but it's an important fact, that the use that we're proposing to add here is a use that's permitted in the district. It's a retail use, which is what we want in this and all of our business districts throughout the town. You know, and our traffic engineer sitting to my right, Ms. Dolan, she's got 40 years of experience as a traffic expert. You know, she's performed actual traffic counts, she's analyzed traffic conditions, and she's provided her expert opinion that there would be no significant increase in traffic resulting from the convenience store being added. Her calculations indicate an increase of 43 trips during AM peak hour, 31 trips during PM peak hour, you know, which, according to the standards that traffic engineers use and the ITE manual uses, are not considered to be a significant increase. And she also pointed out that, you know, this is not a destination, you know, that's going to add traffic. You've got existing traffic. Your people are going to Watchung Plaza for whatever, or they're going somewhere else in town. Okay, they're going to stop in and, you know, gas up their car or pick up some stuff at a convenience store. You know, but, you know, you're not going to be having, this is not a destination that's going to really produce a substantial amount of additional traffic. She's also pointed out that the intersections and the driveways on this property will continue to, you know, operate at levels of service which are considered to be considered to be acceptable by traffic engineers. You know, and, you know, again, that's the expert testimony. Now, I understand the neighbors' concerns, and look, my office was at Watchung Plaza for many years. Is it busier than it used to be? Yes. Is it harder to get a parking space? Yes. Is there more traffic? Probably yes. You know, this is a business district. Are those bad things? Don't we want vibrant, successful, active business districts in town? You know, we have that at Watchung Plaza, and I think we have it in most of our business districts. It's not a bad thing. These are business districts. And, you know, regarding the neighbors, and again, I understand their concerns, but, you know, if you choose to buy a house that's on the fringe of a business district, you know, you buy that knowing that you've got some positive things and some potentially negative things. The positives are you can walk to, you know, it's, you know, in close proximity to everything that Watchung Plaza has, the restaurants, the shops, the retail, whatever. Walking distance, it's great. The negatives that, you know, come with that is because you're close to a business district, you're going to have some inconvenience from parking from time to time. With parking, you know, some additional traffic, but that's kind of what you buy into, you know, when you buy a house that's so close to any business district. I want to briefly just talk about the other variances involved, you know, in addition to the D1 variance. You know, we need a parking variance. The requirement for this proposed, you know, expanded use of the property is 13 parking spaces. We're providing 5. However, 4 parking spaces are allocable to the additional square footage on the second floor of this building, which is really not going to generate any additional parking requirements because it'd be used by the employees, you know, the couple of employees that are going to be working there anyway. So we're not really, you know, we're required to provide 4 additional spaces based upon the second floor square footage, but the reality is there's not really any additional parking demand generated from the second floor. In addition, you know, we've got 5 traditional parking spaces, and as a practical matter, we've got 4 spaces, you know, where the fueling pumps are. They're not legally parking spaces, but effectively they serve as parking spaces. People going to park there, run in, while their car's being filled up with gas and get what they might need at a convenience store. So we're effectively providing 9 spaces for people to park. And if you eliminate the 4 spaces from the second floor, we really only need 9, and we're providing 9. With respect to the other variances, just briefly, we need a variance for front yard parking. There's always been front yard parking here. It's impossible not to have front yard parking at this location. It's a corner lot. Again, you can't provide parking unless you put a new building up in a different location. Similarly, parking setback at Watchung Avenue. It's an existing condition where the parking is closer than 4 feet, which is what's required. It's what exists today. We're really not changing that. And then the third and last C variance is for the location of the trash enclosure, which is considered to be an accessory structure. The zoning in the NC zones is somewhat unusual because the requirement for a rear yard setback for a principal structure is 20 feet. Requirement for an accessory structure, even though much smaller typically, is also 20-foot setback. Somewhat unusual. And here, though, we're proposing the trash enclosure in the corner, the rear. It's really the best location. Any other location, it moves the trash enclosure closer to the public, closer to the street. And it's a 0-foot setback roughly for the trash enclosure, but you have a 0-foot setback for the existing building. It's a non-conforming, essentially 0-foot setback for the large building, and we're proposing the trash enclosure to be similarly located. Again, what I think is the best location for that. And also, what's behind it is the parking lot, for the fitness center and the other businesses. We're also providing a significant amount of landscaping along that property line that's going to shield the trash enclosure for sure. We're only talking 5 or 6 feet, and the plantings are going to shield that. So I don't think there's any better location, for the trash enclosure, given this particular site. The last thing I would say is just to make brief reference to master plan considerations, master plan, includes the objectives of providing convenient access for all residents to essential day-to-day goods and services. Talks about supporting the economic viability of the business districts, which again, that's what we're doing here. And there's also a particular, I think Mr. Steck mentioned this in his testimony, it's in the master plan, talking about this particular site, which says the gas station located at the corner of Watchung Avenue and Park Street is a prominent property that deserves redevelopment or use that reflects the character of the district. I think this is consistent with that goal or objective of the master plan. So for all of those, and the last thing I would simply say, with respect to site plan issues, we've gone through several rounds of plan modifications, and I think we've addressed almost all of the, comments and requested changes that the board has had. We've addressed all of the board engineers' comments to the extent we haven't addressed them. We've already indicated, and I'll repeat, that we will comply with any additional requirements in the Neglia reports that we haven't already complied with. So for all of those reasons, I think this is a very good application. It would be a substantial improvement to this location and to the business community, as well as to the surrounding neighborhoods, and I would respectfully urge the board to approve the application, subject to the various conditions that have been discussed throughout the course of the hearing. So, thank you again for your time.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll begin discussion. We'll begin with Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, looking at the history of the application and the number of times it's gone to the zoning board, the fact that it's a minor development, the revisions, I am generally in favor for the application. When you were asked to do weekend studies, you did weekend studies. When my colleague was in favor of the architecturals, and it's hard for me because it's just like to say no. The best arguments I've heard to say no are it's better to have no building or no development at all. Like it's better to have nothing than something, and crime, which, I mean, I think at least when I was a high school kid at Montclair High, I mean, you can't stop teenagers from being teenagers, and I don't think there's, for lack of a better phrase, it's not like real crime in the plaza, but that aside, yeah, I mean, I look at the prior resolutions, and time again, this has been treated as a special, unique situation that is allowed, exceptions, which is why it's had to come to the zoning board every decade. The only thing that I would perhaps ask is that since it'll probably be here again in the next 10 or 20 years, that we perhaps to have an as-built and a lighting survey, at least then, so the public can be aware of, just to make sure so the public knows that what was agreed to here today was done. And then I guess the last thing too, I guess, because you mentioned acceptable values or acceptable, the level of service is acceptable. There's 520 municipalities, 11,000 parcels in this town alone, 2 to 3 million parcels in the entire state, 22,000 licensed engineers. Even though this is a really real problem at the individual level, at scale, there's people who have had to experience and deal with these problems. And so when you're talking about the ITE, that was the kind of the collective statutory, if you will, determination as to how to deal with these. It may feel differently in this isolated incident, but it's like all the professionals agree. I haven't heard enough information other than quality of life concerns, which aren't regulatable from the board. But yeah, in summary, I'm generally in favor.
Mr. Griffith?
I'm in favor of the submission. I'm impressed by the changes that were made in response to the comments by everyone. I don't want to diminish the concerns of the community. They are valid and real, but I don't feel that this project can fix it, and I don't feel inclined to limit the use. I think it's a reasonable use request by the owner, so I think the owner, the architect, and their legal counsel have done an excellent job of being reasonably responsible, and I think it's a very nice project.
Ms. Grant?
I think that that business district, I understand it's filled with small shops. I've shopped there myself for many years. I don't think the gas station and convenience store is I understand the concerns of the community as to why they wouldn't want the gas station convenience store in that location. So if you go anywhere in the United States, there's a gas station and convenience store combination everywhere. As far as getting milk, you can go to Acme. As far as getting, Acme's right up the street. We've created beautiful niche spaces, and then we put the same thing that you can find anywhere, which takes away from what I think residents are kind of fighting for, which is character. And there's convenience stores right up. There's Quick Check. There's a 7-Eleven. I mean, that little shopping center, it doesn't really need it. But as far as, I'll go to a little technical, the design, I think it's wonderful. It looks really nice. It fits in with that area. I guess it's not too much you could do with the gas station center, the pump station section. But okay, I'll keep. I'll have to be. I'm not for it. I'm not for it.
Mr. Church?
I'd be in favor of I'm in favor of the application because I can't see that a convenience store is going to generate the crowds that are being talked about here. I think that what you're going to do is you're going to see an increase in people coming in, but you're not going to see a drastic increase. I believe it's an improvement. Just the architecture of the building is an improvement to that corner. The area has had convenience stores. There was one right across the street on Watchung Avenue, which is now a restaurant. Why the convenience store didn't stay there is their business. But it's not that they haven't been here. Convenience stores are good for people that live in apartments that are coming in from the train and need a quick pickup of milk, bread, eggs for the breakfast in the morning. It's ideal. And I believe that what they designed is a good design for that corner. The site has been woeful for a long time. So I would vote in favor of the variances sought because I believe it's an improvement to the area, and I don't believe the increase in traffic that this will generate will be that great.
Mr. Simon?
This is a challenging intersection, and I think it's going to be challenging regardless of what's around it. Even with the testimony of the accidents, I didn't hear anything which attributed any of the issues to the gas station itself. So I don't see that as, I'm not counting that as a major factor, the fact that it's a gas station as being the cause of all the traffic issues. That being said, I think the benefits of the improvements and the convenience store, I don't want to say outweighs the concerns of the neighbors, but I think overall I would be in favor of the application.
All right, and then we'll ask Mr. Vieira, you get to have the next to the last opinion expressed, and you'll always remember your time on this zoning board, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And we hope that the next community you go to, you're the first to wave your hand and say you volunteer to serve.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I intend to come back to Montclair, so that's my plan. So, I'm generally in favor of this application. I think this is a thoughtful design. It's an improvement of the site. However, I do have to acknowledge the concerns of the community. I think from what I've heard, the biggest concerns are traffic and pedestrian safety. However, I think these are existing conditions. I don't think this project, this proposal will exacerbate this, what's existing there. So I think that the property owner will not be able to solve what's already there. So for that reason, I think I'm in favor, and I urge the neighbors, please, follow up with the county, the township to resolve your concerns, because those are valid concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. So I do want to say I'll just begin by saying that I am generally in support of this application as well. But I want to say to the public that I am exceedingly sympathetic to what you said about the traffic. It really is a problem. And I've made a point of it since the last hearing to visit this area multiple times to see what it is that has been mentioned. So it very definitely there are traffic issues. There's just no question about it. I don't know that this gas station / convenience store adds to that. I mean, other than, the reference to it being an additional outlet for, potentially for young people, I guess, to come on their bikes or it's pedal bikes or e-bikes or whatever. Clearly, it is a point of attraction. So I think we have to accept that. I think I did hear from earlier testimony that it's not the intent of Mr. Singh for this to be a place in which cigarettes and vaping and all of that is being promoted. I think he addressed that in the previous hearing. But there are certainly, of course, there are other items that will be sold, which will be attractive to a variety of people. I do want to say that in terms of the design of the property, I think that it does enhance the Watchung area neighborhood. I really believe it does. But I do want to say to Mr. Is it Switzer or Schweitzer? Mr. Schweitzer, that I hope that that what you have designed is what you will actually build. Because I think it does it will contribute to the beauty and the enhancement of that area. So I'm going to hold you to it, and I know where your business is. So if it's voted, I should say. So I am recommending that we do approve the D1 variance and the C variances that were provided to us, including the on-site parking for 5, parking with 0 setback from the Watchung Avenue property line, the variance to permit parking in front yard, and the variance to permit an accessory structure or the class trash enclosure to be set back 0 feet from the eastern property line. Are there any other?
Yeah, we had some conditions before.
Yeah, I have a whole slew of conditions.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Okay, so, if there's a motion to approve the preliminary and final site plan application, the use variance, and the bulk variances that were requested, I think it should be subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the plan shall be revised to include sheet SK3 prepared by Mr. Switzer dated March 25, 2026. 2, the fence on the roof shall be eliminated. 3, the applicant shall comply with and satisfy all outstanding comments contained in the review memorandum prepared by Norberto Hernandez, PE CME of Neglia Group dated March 25, 2026. 4, use of the second floor shall be limited to office and storage associated with the on-site use and shall not be rented out to a third party. 5, hours of operation shall be limited to 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. for the gasoline pumps 7 days a week, and Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the convenience store. 6, signs shall not be permitted in any windows of the building. 7, security cameras shall be installed on site. 8, security lighting shall be utilized after hours by dimmable mounted activated lighting. 9, the trash enclosure gate shall be locked after hours. 10, the applicant shall provide an as-built survey and lighting plan upon completion. 11, the applicant shall be bound by all representations made on its behalf during the course of the public hearing. And 12, the applicant shall be responsible for all inspection fees incurred under Montclair Code Section 202-27, as well as escrow fees incurred in connection with review of this matter.
All right, so those are the conditions. Is there a motion to approve this application with the conditions as stated?
Motion to approve the application with the conditions as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Oh, wait,
I'm sorry.
So six in favor, 1 opposed.
Yes, I did hear it.
That was Ms. Grant.
Yes. And abstentions? It is voted. All right. All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I am going to suggest that the additional items that were on our agenda for tonight be postponed to a subsequent meeting.
I will make that, so, for application number 2969, 260 Park Street, 260 Park Street LLC, we'll carry that to May 20th at 7 PM. And 2965, 6 to 10 Erie Street for applicant BDP, 6 to 10 Erie LLC will be carried to May 20th, 7 PM. No need for further public notice. Thank you.
Hold on a second. 260 Park Street is going to what date?
May 20th.
May 20th? And when is 610 the same date?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Trebulak, you represent, or you consent to an extension of time on those?
Yes, for sure.
May 20th works for both of them.
All right. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I guess that means there's a second. All right. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Well, we did better than last month.
Yeah.